bastards came, guns blazing. And they expect us to bow down? This? What you're fighting for? Here's my answer! A bullet! I fight you tooth and nail! Are we gonna let them leave fully loaded? No! Let them come, if they dare, and pay with their lives! Let them see our anger! Feel our pride! Show them who Komodo really belongs to! I will fight for her until the end.
Break. Bulldog 7, Blue 1, troops in contact.
Welcome to the Arena Breakout Triathlon event, where creators will be pitted against one another to see who will become the Arena Breakout Ironman. Players will engage in intense shootouts and looting with high stakes and high rewards. Survival is key, as escaping the combat area alive is the only path to victory. It's a game where shooting, looting, and strategic decision-making are crucial for success. Get ready to break out! We've assembled top FPS pros and creators from across the globe to compete in 3 different challenges. Each challenge will take place on a different map, and the goal will be to get in, obtain the required amount of loot, and extract. Challengers will have unlimited attempts within a 30-minute time limit. Failure on any maps gets marked as the full 30 minutes. The lowest combined time across all challenges wins. Challenges will feature creators as participants, and they can choose to compete individually, bring along friends for assistance, or form teams with anyone. There are no restrictions on loadout value, but anything they bring will not count towards the map goal. The first challenge takes place on the farm. Creators must navigate through the heavily patrolled fields and gather 100k coin worth of loot before extracting. The next challenge is in the valley blockade, where they choose to break into the villas to find large amounts of loot and enemies, or stay on the outskirts and play it safe. Either way, challengers must snap 200k coin before breaking out. The final challenge will be held in the armory. Challengers must be sure to do their reconnaissance here in order to remain efficient and find the exit to this potential death trap. This time, 300k coin is needed before your final evac. Heads up, any form of cheating is strictly prohibited. Keep your eyes on the battlefield to make sure you don't miss a minute of the action. Arena Breakout will be available on iOS and Android, so pre-register now.
Arena Breakout is like literally the first proper true next-gen mobile first-person shooter.
Just overall, there's a lot of customability and just uniqueness that, like I said, we haven't seen in other types of shooters before. what I like most about Arena Breakout is the healing system, how you're able to use painkillers, surgical kits, and adrenalines to treat yourself.
I'm an ex-military soldier, so being in that mindset again feels absolutely amazing.
It actually speaks a lot for how polished Arena Breakout is, because I don't play a lot of mobile games and stuff like that, and the fact that I was able to dive into this one of these, it was so comfortable.
Dude, we got it, let's go!
And so just take that time to learn it all and just be patient with it, because you're not going to pick it up immediately, but once you do, it's going to be a blast.
Just go and play the game. You will die a lot, but that's how you learn things.
Take it a little bit slower than you would the other games, because like I said, it's high risk, high reward.
This one got fucked up real bad. Hey, boss. Check this out.
Let me see that.
Body's so warm. They might be close.
Nice optics. Extraction port's 2 clicks ahead. Let's go, ladies.
Sniper!
Fuck is he?
Get down!
Sniper, second floor.
Get that motherfucker.
Set! I'm out! Go, 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 go! Set! Fuck!
Oh shit, that was close.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Arena Breakout Triathlon, where we are debuting some of the best Arena Breakout players from all over the world. We're in week 5 of the action. I am joined by the one and only Mod6, the Arena Breakout casting guru. How are you feeling today?
I am, as always, excited to be here. I love this format, and these guys are going to be under pressure the entire time. And this game, it brings out a lot of different tactics and requirements for these teams. So I'm excited to get into it. And we've got some players who have some pretty deep experience in this game, some outrageous skill when it comes to mobile gaming, some incredible mobile competitive esports casting and content resumes in the competition today. So excited to see what decisions these guys make, how they put it together. And the previous weeks of this event have shown us some wild results, some unbelievably fast extractions, some crazy luck with the loot in some cases. So it's you never know how it's going to go, and excited to do another one of these triathlon events.
Yeah, it is Royale Rumble night, so we have some top-tier Battle Royale players trying their hand at Arena Breakout. Some of these players actually have a little bit of experience from other games similar, but also from Arena Breakout as well. I know DabPlays is one of the players that you guys are going to see today that I think we have a lot of high expectations for, but obviously teammates going to play a really big role as well. You look back at the performances we saw last week, and we actually saw Little B taking down Ferg, something that we have not seen happen in a really long time in really any competitive shooter. So obviously the teammates play a big role, but the content creators' experience level going to be absolutely crucial as well. Mod6, before we break down the players, do you want to give us just a quick overview of what these players are aiming for and what their targets are when it comes to the gameplay?
Absolutely. For this kind of game, a lot of people expect to see just a max loot type of competition, but this is structured so that players have to take into account every factor, their route plan, where the high loot values are, and getting to that extraction point as efficiently as possible. And so what the format is today is we have 3 segments of the competition today. We start on farmland. These players have a 30-minute window to maximize their opportunities on farmland. What they'll be trying to do is get the fastest extraction time possible, with the team leader holding at least 100,000 coin in loot. Then they move on to Valley, the second map, another 30-minute window, and the same objective: get off the map as quickly as possible, but the minimum loot requirement for the team leader goes up to 200,000 coin. And then our third map, we're going to Armory. Everybody knows it. Everyone knows what to expect at this point. You got to have your head on a swivel. The guards and the other players are there to take you out. And the loot requirement goes up again. They'll have 30 minutes to get their fastest extraction time possible, with at least 300,000 coin in the team leader's backpack, in their inventory. And so the overall score will be the combination of the fastest extraction times for the team in each of those rounds. If the team fails to extract for the entire 30-minute window, or fails to hit that minimum loot requirement, they get a 30-minute time scored for them on that extraction. And as we've seen in the past, if a team drops a 30-minute round, we've only seen one team come back for that, and that was Ice Stream, the only person you'd expect to have the ability to come back from that kind of deficit. So it's a huge mountain to climb if they drop a 30-minute time. This format forces route planning, load planning, looting. It's an awesome format. I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, and to give you guys a little bit of context for how ridiculous it is to bounce back from a 30-minute round, our records for each map include Little B winning in a 4-minute run on, I believe, on Farm, with Little B also with a 5-minute run on Valley, and then Zyphon back a couple of weeks managed a 450 run on Armory as well. So it's some pretty ridiculous times that these players have been able to put up, but I'm excited to take a look at what the teams are going to look like. And I believe we do have some codes that are going to be given out throughout the stream as well. So if you guys are fans of Arena Breakout, you can actually find a way to maybe snag some free rewards along the way. as we are going to have some codes up on the screen throughout. All you have to do to redeem those is head on into the Redemption Center once you are in the game. You can see that under the events on the right side of your screen. Hit the go button once you're there and enter in that code as quickly as you can. Lots of different items being given out, and just a little extra thank you thrown in there for you guys hanging out with us in the stream as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit of opportunity to get that higher level gear and get that ammo, get those things out of those bundles, and hop into these armory games that you'll see later on in the competition. And remember, when you see those codes pop up on the screen, you need to rush into the game and redeem those. This is a first to the redemption kind of model here. So once you see those codes, there they are, the first 5 codes of the day. Open up your game, go to that events tab, hit the Redemption Center, and get yourself that elevated gear that might make you a little bit more competitive on a map like Armory these days. I get nervous going into Armory, Bobby. I get nervous.
Yeah, it can get a little spicy in there, and like you mentioned, it's not just the real players that you got to watch out for in Armory. It's the bots as well. They can one tap you around a corner, so you have to be careful with every single engagement that you're taking. Obviously, the players that we're going to be seeing today have spent a lot of time preparing. I think a few that we've seen in a few of these different events are going to be on what I'm considering our God Squad for the day in Wynnsanity's team. So that's definitely going to be the team to watch for me. But really all the teams, a lot of talent to be broken down. So we'll kind of take a look at everybody that we're going up with today. We do have Wynnsanity, we've got DabPlays, we got Ace Lawrence, and we've got 8scope as our final player. Looking at least the team captains, do you feel like you're leaning one direction or another for who could potentially win this?
If I'm going to tell you my favorite, just among the team captains, it's got to be DabPlays. And I'm a little bit biased here because I've played with the guy, right? We've gotten in game. I've seen his capability, his skill in the gunfight, and really his ability to communicate to the team, right? And so that's a huge factor. But what you bring up, Bobby, is those teammates matter. We see some recognizable names, I'm sure, as soon as we get into the games. You all in the chat will absolutely see some names you recognize there. And so what it comes down to at the end of the day is the entire team's coordination. And all of these guys have really great mechanics and experience in this kind of game. Obviously, we've got these guys with deep battle royale experience, but what we've seen in some previous weeks, Gfon especially, these guys with high-level battle royale experience, their mechanics translate to this game. They don't miss those shots, and that is a huge factor here. So at the end of the day, mechanics matter, but the teammates, I think, bring a lot of specific Arena Breakout experience. And so it's really going to come down to putting together all of those factors. And I've got DabPlays as my favorite, but like I said, I've seen him in game. I know what he's capable of. And I'm excited to see how these guys put it together, if we see any new tactics. But, Bobby, at the end of the day, RNG, loot, knowing where to go get that stuff, you got to hit those minimums. And so that is always going to be a big factor here in racing for the extraction.
All right. Well, I believe we actually have the opportunity to talk to our streamers before we hop into the action. So we're going to head on over to a call with those guys to get some of their thoughts, some of their expectations for what we can see today in the action. We're joined by Ace Lawrence, 8scope, Wynnsanity, and DabPlays. How are you guys doing today?
I'm nervous.
Good.
Hello.
I'm ready.
Ace, was that you that said you're nervous?
I'm nervous.
You're nervous? All right. Well, given your nerves, do you feel like the team that you've got going into this with you could potentially elevate your level of play and maybe give you a better chance at taking home the W today?
Wait, never mind. I'm not nervous anymore. I have Shifan in my team.
Oh, that's true. He was, I believe he was on the winning team with Little B last week, right?
I'm nervous, but they're not. Yeah.
All right.
Shifan told me to tell the viewers that he's in my team. That's all.
All right. Well,
we got
we'll
another
definitely
guy
have our eyes on him. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that. We got another guy who has put together what may be the God Squad here with Wynnsanity. He's connected with some players that we've seen in this event, that we've seen in Arena Breakout before. Wynnsanity, talk to us about what, as much as you're willing to get into it, what that team dynamic is like and what the plan is for today.
That's right. We had an incredibly rigorous recruitment process. I tweeted that I needed teammates, and they hit me up, and I said yes. And it turns out that they're absolutely insane at the game. So I didn't check their resumes, but I know Monarch and Wi-Fi. I've played with them for many years in different events across different games. So I already knew they were good. But they're bringing this guy Sade with them, and I've heard he's pretty insane. But I might just follow their lead, and as long as they're feeding me Cohen's the whole time, I'm happy.
All right,
a valid plan.
Well, Dab, Dab, I think a lot of players have their eyes on you as probably the content creator in this event who's got the most hours put in. I think you said like 600 hours or something like that in Arena Breakout. I am curious about the team that you're playing with. Do you feel like there's maybe a little more team chemistry with you guys that could potentially give you a better chance going up against what a lot of people are going to regard as a God Squad for Wynsanity's team?
So the thing about my team is it's actually 3 of the best people from my community that I've been playing with for weeks now, and we've actually been grinding out the game together. So our comms, our chemistry is going to be on point.
All right.
That's awesome to hear, and that's actually one of the first times we've seen someone come with a community team. So that's going to be exciting to watch and see some of those results. Now, A-Scope. Talk to us about how you transition into an extraction shooter like this, and what's your approach been to be able to kind of get into this game, understand the game, and how are you going to approach this different from a typical Battle Royale event?
Oh, I haven't. I'm going to die. I'm going to lose. So we're going to try our best. Regardless of what happens, at the end of the day, we're going to try our best. And I don't know, it's been fun. It's an addicting game for sure. Everybody can agree on that. It's different from a Battle Royale where you still got the loot at the end of the day. You still got your M4 and everything. In this, you lose it, you gotta go get it back. So it's all in all a challenge, but it's a good challenge.
Yeah, well, I like the humble approach, and absolutely the chance of losing all of that gear on a death is always on everyone's mind in this game. Gentlemen, we wish you the best of luck. We wish you the RNG loot gods on your side for the event, and good luck today. It's going to be an exciting one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, it definitely very broad spectrum of expectations from that group, from I'm nervous to I'm not nervous to I've got a God Squad to I have the team chemistry to I'm gonna die. So coming away from that one, do you feel like the interviews changed your expectations for this first map or for the day in general?
As far as I'm concerned, that interview just confirmed my prediction for DabPlays having some success here. I think the team chemistry is going to lead the way, but the fact of the matter is we have some undeniable teams out there today. Gifan having tons of success in this event multiple times already, and then obviously we've got Sade, Monarch. These guys are known in this event, known within the Arena Breakout community, and are deeply experienced. So the team dynamic is huge, but I'm sticking with my prediction, and I love when we see that all over the map, because that means we're in for a roller coaster of an event, I'm sure.
Yeah, no question. I think that's something that gets overlooked a lot, especially when it comes to esports, is people look at like the individual talent on a team and not necessarily how they fit together. So I think it's easy to look at Win Squad and say, oh, they've got the God Squad, like they're going to win. But that was, I believe, the same squad that Ferg had last week, but it seemed like the chemistry for Little B's team was just a little bit better and allowed them to get the win. So I think especially, like, not only for today is that likely the most preparation we've seen for a squad, but probably throughout the entirety of the triathlon, there's probably not many other rosters that have had that many reps together. And I think that level of chemistry is something that cannot be understated enough, especially for somebody like Dab, who has been playing this game as well for as long as he has.
Yeah, for sure. And really, you can break it down to the fact that that team experience is going to benefit you in a couple of areas of this game, right? The team experience, these guys know their routes on these maps, right? I've watched Sade play Armory so many times, I could draw his first, second, and third preferred routes to bunker on the map for you from memory, right? So they have this route, their method for finding the loot. They've got it locked down. All the keys are ready. They know exactly where they're running. But when you come over to these teams that have a lot of experience playing together and that chemistry, well, the fact of the matter is you have to win complex, difficult gunfights, team-on-team gunfights, and that is all in the chemistry, the communication, the ability to get across the message and the info to your teammates efficiently and know what they mean when they give you those call-outs, right? And that is the crux of the situation, because you can find all the loot you want knowing that perfect route, but if you don't have great chemistry in the gunfight, especially in bunker or on armory, you're not going to make it to the extraction point. So the team that wins here today is going to have to put all of those dynamics together consistently and hit those really fast extraction times. You know, what we found is that 8 to 12 minute time on an extraction on any of these maps is enough to keep you in it. But to really win, to really compete for that top spot, you got to get those times down 6-7 minutes, sometimes even faster. And so they've got a lot of things to put together, and it's going to be a bunch of different dynamics to contribute to that. So I love to see the variation in the feedback we get from these teams. I like to see the nervousness, right? Like lose all your gear, have to reset, lose the time, only have a 30-minute window. All of that makes it super exciting for me.
I feel like for some of these teams, we may well see one where they just kind of have like a mediocre run and either try to end it early or even risk like losing out on all their gear altogether to try to give themselves a better chance at making a faster run. Or do you feel like some of these teams will feel a little more comfortable taking a slower run and feeling like they could make it up on later maps?
I think what we're going to see here is that teams are going to try and be very, very consistent with their route and their extraction time. And then where we're going to see the variation is their loot luck, right? Because at the end of the day, they're going to have to be able to consistently put in these 6 and 7 minute extractions. And to do that, you can't run all over the map. So you are taking some chances on loot value. So I think what we're going to see is at least an attempt at really consistent times, and then making sure at least one of those hits the minimum loot value. That's the approach that I would take, having seen these competitions over and over again. But we've seen the result of that be really all over the map. Some people taking a full 25 minutes in their first game and then panicking to get a second run in. And some people missing the loot value, but knocking out those quick extractions over and over again. So it can be all over the map, but I'm definitely sure of what my preferred method would be as a team leader here.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm curious what these guys are going to be able to do. Obviously, just a minute before we hop into the first match of the day. But once again, looking back at the map records for each of these, we got Little B's squad setting 2 of the map records last week with 353 on Farm and 501 on Valley. Between those two and then Zyphon's 451 on Armory, which would you say is the most impressive record?
So I gotta say it's kind of tied for me, right? The Valley is a little bit less significant, but a sub 4 extraction on Farm is absolutely crazy. There are so many spawn situations where it would take you more than 4 minutes if you didn't loot anything, didn't get into any gunfights, and just sprinted to the extraction point. So the idea where you get the right spawn location, are able to move so quickly and flow through gunfights, never get bogged down, and get there in sub 4. I think that Farm extraction takes the cake with the most impressive extraction time I've ever seen. And I've got a question for you, Bobby. So I've been playing this game obsessively since launch. I love it, right? And a lot of these content creators in the mobile space are kind of approaching this from for the first time in the couple of weeks after launch. I'm curious what you think that experience is like, transitioning from so much time on multiplayer shooters and battle royale shooters, and then in many cases getting into an extraction shooter for the first time. Yeah, what is that like for a lot of these content creators?
I think a lot of it is learning patience, because there's so many mobile games out there that are like specifically designed to just be like as fast paced as possible. There's always action, you're always doing something. And for Arena Breakout, it really is like the most realistic possible game. And in real life, you're not constantly just like blah, 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 blah. Like there has to be strategy. And I would say, as far as mobile shooters go, it's the most strategic mobile shooter out there right now. So I think that's one thing that is definitely set some of these players apart, and it could potentially give more advantage to these Battle Royale players to try to set some of those records, because Battle Royale is a little bit slower paced game than some of your multiplayer arcade shooter type things, where you're just constantly taking gunfights, and you do have to worry about those positioning places, worry about being in the right place at the right time. So I think these Battle Royale guys are definitely going to have a slight edge, and we could potentially see multiple records today. I don't know that we're going to see that farm record broken anytime soon, but I've got a feeling that these guys are going to put up some ridiculous numbers given the mobile gaming experience that we have combined here.
For sure, for sure. And to give you guys some insight onto where we're at getting into these first games, we are going to be getting into farmland here pretty quickly. What all these teams are doing right now is they're prepping their gear, they're prepping their loadout, and really you may see some of these loadouts change map to map as they really try and optimize what they bring into the game every time. And every single time, that's one of the unique experiences in this game for me is every single time you're going to hop into the game, you have to take a minute and really take a look at what you're bringing into the game. Do you have everything that you need? And all the time in the chat, on streams and content creators' videos, you see the debate going back and forth of like, how many energy drinks should you bring? What's your ammo should you bring? How many mags? What type of mag capacity? There's all those decisions these guys have to make before they hop into these games. They're putting their loadouts together as we speak, and we'll be moving on into the farm game as soon as we have these guys live and in the lobby. But yeah, I expect we see some issues with patience today, Bobby, because I've been in these games, and it is nerve-wracking when you see footsteps in all directions and you don't know where the threat's going to come from. The most difficult thing to do in that situation is not move and not expose your position with sound. And we've seen the downfall of getting too antsy in those situations. And something else I'm interested to see, and I think we'll all be looking for that, is guys getting bogged down in a gunfight. That speed of maneuver, the ability to make a quick decision and change your angle is going to be essential here. And I agree. I think some of these Battle Royale players may have a little bit of an advantage on that key aspect of patience in this game. I think I repeat patience as an important factor in almost every esports event I've ever been involved with. I feel like we see a shortage of that these days.
Yeah, for sure. What would you say, because you talked a little bit about like the right ammo count to bring everything. How many mags would you say on average these guys should aim for? Because obviously you want to be able to win those gunfights, but if you do get into those situations where you're having to take multiple gunfights anyways, is it worth it to have enough ammunition to win all those gunfights if it also means it's going to sacrifice? Or will there be some scenarios where maybe these guys sacrifice their loot, are okay with maybe risking getting taken down and having to reset everything if it means they get another chance for a faster run?
Yeah, so I think typically in games like this, these are going to be fast-paced games, and they have to move through the map quickly. When you're on a timer like that, your chances of running into other teams and getting into gunfights go up. You're just moving across the map a little bit more recklessly, a little bit faster pace, right? And so these guys are going to probably be a little heavy on ammo. I expect to see them bringing in 180, 240 rounds of ammo for that primary weapon. But another factor here is the format, right? We're looking at team leader extraction value. That team leader has to live in order for that extraction to count. So we are going to see a bit of a dynamic with the little protect the president going on around the team leaders. And so I actually expect to see teammates bringing a little bit more ammo, providing that support, team leader bringing what he needs, but they got to make sure they've got room for that loot, right? So we've got some dynamics driven by the format today, but I probably get that question about Arena Breakout more than any other question, is how much ammo should I bring? And listen, this game is so realistic that I go back to my military experience, and I just look at the number, the number of the amount of ammo we would bring on actual military operations, right? And that number was always in that 210 to 240 range for individual people. It's remarkable how the real world example accurately informs what you should be planning in a game like this. But yeah, I think those are the dynamics we'll see, but really that's going to be increased a little bit because of the pace these guys really have to move across the map.
Is there going to be one dominant weapon that we can expect to see this, or do you think there will be a little bit of a broad spectrum to have players that are able to take different gunfights in those more specific situations?
You know, in an ideal makeup, what I would see on a team is you know, an SMG, 2 ARs, and then a little bit of a longer distance weapon, right? SVDS, SKS, something like that. You might see in some other games some AX-50s, but that's a heavy gun, right? So these guys are going to be carrying lightweight guns. We're not going to see heavy sniper rifles because the weight of your weapon actually affects how fast you can run, and speed is a priority here. So I think we'll see a bunch of H4s in this game, maybe some M4s. People love that with the 995 ammo. It's really effective. May see some MP5s, but I think these guys are going to be going big on their loadout value, less concerned about losing loadout value and dying, and most concerned about like maximum protection, maximum effectiveness, and maximum speed across the map. I think H4 is going to be a dominant weapon today for sure. It's one of the favorites.
All right. I'm excited to see what these guys are able to do. Obviously, for those of you wondering, players still getting their loadouts ready to go and everything else. But I think we saw a transition in the scene, which may mean we are about to
be jumping into farm here with the players right here in just a second, and they are getting into the map, spawning in right now. So we're going to go hop into the game with our first couple of teams.
All right. Well, first up, farm. Speed run underway. Obviously, you do have to get that loot value and who else to spectate first. But DabPlays, obviously, eyes out as you got to watch out for those additional spawn points. Going to pop an energy drink here as well. They're looking to move as quickly as possible through this map while obviously hitting that 100K loot as well.
Yeah, and he's got one of those spawns here that is far out on the east side of farm. So he's got a long way to run for his extraction, but he's chosen to stop here in Villa, and you see he's got the key. I was just going to check that, and he's going to stop at that early spot. We have Wynnsanity in a gunfight already in Grain Trade Center, potentially on the opposite side, maybe in the same lobby. And then we see 8scope already downing some players. This looks like he's downed a TAC Ops player already. So these guys instantly into the gunfight, and 8scope looking to loot here and see if there's any value. And we're hopping back in here with Ace Lawrence, who's moving across the north side of farm. You're going to see these guys race towards stables and motel because those are the high loot density areas on this map. So they are just making an absolute beeline with the team out in front here. That's those teammates providing a little bit of coverage and security, and you see them step back as soon as they see that indicator. But getting into the gunfight immediately, downing some guards there in the middle of the street, and right back to the sprint towards motel. This is what I'm talking about, flowing quickly through the gunfight and really moving with speed across the map. These guys are following that tactic to a T.
Yeah, we did see, as expected, 8scope is rocking a Mazen, right? A sniper as well. So really living up to his name. Got to make sure that there's some representation for the snipers on the map. And picking up some loot already. Suitcase being open right here. And obviously, RNG going to play into the way things go right here. Lantern, maybe not quite what they're looking for, but save another opportunity for them to pick up some big value loot. Obviously, to a certain degree, RNG is going to play a role here. But any opportunity to pick up a big value item can be crucial for one of these quick map runs.
Absolutely. And we just saw Dab throw a grenade right through the window there. This is where those hours in game come into play. He hits that perfect angle on the grenade to clear a primary threat area, and he hit it in stride. And so we are seeing some of that demonstrated experience from DabPlays. And you know, the loot RNG in this game, these guys have to have some experience to really be able to see that item initially. You see Dab here moving towards one of these unlocked rooms, multiple safes in this area, and he's got the experience to take a quick glance and know if a single item allows him to hit that minimum loot value. And you got to believe that as soon as these guys realize they have 100K in the backpack, it is an all-out sprint for the extraction time. And we are already, to give you some perspective, we are already past Little B's record on this map.
That is mind-boggling. That's I mean, obviously you got to give credit to them, but the amount of RNG that has to go into it, not just getting the loot, not just not having to take any engagements, but having the spawn point to be close enough as well. Just absolutely ridiculous execution out of them. And I am curious that this usage of the sniper for 8 scope, obviously you want to be able to take down those enemies, but every second counts in this. And if you're going to set up at the top of a hill, take multiple seconds, maybe even 20, 30 seconds to try to scope out an area, that is precious time you can't really afford to waste. And I think a big reason why we will likely see a lot more players opting to go aggressive with the ARs and SMGs.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm interested to see if he continues with that tactic into some of these later maps, because that will be even more costly, even less effective on a map like Armory. Now, we see Ace Lawrence here, and there's the red smoke. He's got the knife out. He's running to the red smoke. We may have our first extraction, and we're looking at about 5 minutes and 20 seconds in here, a high-level extraction, one of the fastest we've seen on this map. We need to see if he gets that loot value, because we may have an early, highly competitive extraction time here from Ace Lawrence.
Yeah, that was a pretty crazy time seeing what the loot value is right here. I didn't quite catch it. I think the chat was covering it up. Did you see it?
24,700. Okay. So far short of that minimum 100K loot value. And I think that is an example of following that tactic I was talking about earlier. But right now we see 8-scope in this fight. He's got the Molotov out. His team has breached into motel, and he's got another teammate on the high ground. So really well spread out, lots of avenues of approach coverage, angles covered. But they're going to have to deal with these guards, deal with the potential of another team in here, and they're going to have to loot out motel pretty quickly to continue to be able to put up a potentially competitive time. But that initial extraction that we saw from Ace Lawrence, not meeting the minimum loot value, but potentially an example of getting that consistent route, that consistent time, and just not seeing the items he wanted. But if he can repeat that a couple more times, RNG may play in his favor with the loot, and that could be a successful tactic with him.
Do you think that was an intentional move for them? I would assume that in most cases, there's somebody on the squad that's kind of keeping mental note of everything they're picking up and how much it's worth. Definitely unusual to see an early extraction that fast, not really anywhere close to the minimum value for being able to have a qualifying run.
Yeah, that decision could come around. You know, if you hit stables and motel on this map, and you realize, like, oh, my loot value is not anywhere close, you might as well get off the map really quickly, cut your losses, get to that extraction. So that may be what we just saw, because awfully fast extraction, not even close to the minimum loot value there, but may have been just one of those things where they hit the high density loot areas, didn't get the luck they needed, and are looking for that reset. But we're seeing Dab open the inventory, and he's got a pretty full inventory. Ace Lawrence already back into the game, and so fastest reset possible. These guys seemingly have a pretty well worked out strategy here, but we're going to see if they're able to hit that minimum loot value by using this quick run strategy. I like it, though. I like it.
Yeah, and obviously Shifan knows what he's doing as one of the players that was on Little B's squad last week whenever they set the record on this map. So they definitely have some type of idea. I am curious how many hours these guys have put in, because once again, the team chemistry going to play a big role in whether or not they're able to hit those quick runs and do it, meeting all the goals. But they definitely seem to be dead set on these routes. And as of right now, seeming like they're well on their way to another quick run. A lot of it very much banking on whether or not they find that loot value. We do see the first extraction for DabPlays, and it's not an insanely fast run, but if it's a decent time and a qualifying one meeting the loot value, it does 230,000 in an 8-minute run. Not too shabby, especially given how early we are in map 1.
That is a great score to have on the board at this point in the game. Now he can relax a little bit, knowing that his score on farm is going to keep him competitive in this event. He can now really try and, take some chances, maybe optimize for the fastest. And we see 8scope picking up the golden cheetah. I believe that's a potentially 65K individual loot item. That's an opportunity to pad the rest of that backpack with some items and sprint to an extraction point. So we may see our first big loot luck of the day, but yeah, it's that consistent time and then hoping for the best results when you open those safes. But Dab, 230K, far more than meeting the minimum. We're going to look to see him speed that up a little bit, maybe take a little bit less time to loot and see if he can shave a minute or two off of that time as we go forward here. But Ace Lawrence absolutely running through Motel, and we see these teams just moving with unbelievable aggression in this event. Some of the people watching may never even imagine having to move across a map this seemingly careless, but it's really about being just as careful, just doing it a lot faster.
Yep, and you can see 8scope going to go ahead and hit the extract here. That cheetah going to be enough for them to hit the goal, but obviously not quite the fastest time that we've seen so far today. Hopping back to Ace Lawrence, checking all the bodies, making sure they don't miss out on anything here. And we know they've got the speed factor down, a lot of it just coming down to whether or not they can hit those correct spots to be able to give themselves a chance to hit that 100K goal. So I've got a feeling we're going to see some faster runs out of Dab. Honestly, a little bit surprised that he looted that much in the first place, just because he probably could have managed to shave a few seconds, if not minutes, just getting that minimum value rather than getting basically double what he actually needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's just that comes from the required change in mentality that comes with jumping into this format out of regular games. Because in your regular games, you're always looking to maximize that loot value. But here, it's all about the time. And we see a big gunfight in the first floor of Motel. Wynnsanity dropping 2 in a row, but taking a lot of damage. You see those 2 blacked out arms and damage in the rest of the body. That's another factor. If you take quite a bit of damage, he's going to be sitting here for about 30 seconds getting all of these heals in. We see 8scope with 132K in loot value, but I did not catch the time on that one. So we know 8scope has a qualifying time on the board.
It was around 11 minutes was the time that he had there. So obviously not a fast run by any means, but definitely one that puts them in position where even if it's the best run that they have for this game, not going to put them out of contention by any means. Ace Lawrence picking up a couple of guns right here. Has a lot of backpack space to work with. Actually going to opt to leave the gun there. And like you said, Wynnsanity staying alive, but having to spend that much time healing, going to put them at a big disadvantage. It looked like they had already extracted once based on the amount of time on the clock right there. So I'm curious what kind of numbers they put up. But obviously, they're going to be looking to probably get a reset off that, as that's going to push your time back pretty significantly.
Yeah, they're going to be looking to get out of there as quickly as they can. And we see more from Ace Lawrence with the aggressive move towards Motel. A little bit of pause here in the street, potentially dealing with some threats. But they're headed straight to the extraction here with Jifan right in front of Ace Lawrence leading the way. These guys moving out in the open. Crazy risk with this style of aggressive movement. But this is what it looks like when they go to min-max those results and really try and shave off seconds everywhere possible. Wynnsanity with some pretty solid gear in his bag right now, likely very, very close, if not already at that 100K loot value, as Ace Lawrence here coming in with the last 100 or 200 meters until he arrives at that extraction point. Looking pretty safe. All of these teams not really dealing with too much of a significant threat to the team. I don't think we've seen a player die yet in this event.
I don't think so. And looking at the qualifying times, obviously Ace Lawrence did manage to extract, but didn't hit the loot goal, so his time's not going to count there. And then Wynnsanity, I'm assuming, didn't hit the loot goal either, given they have that 30-minute time. I'm assuming had they actually ended up dying, there probably would have taken a little bit longer to get back into things, just getting their loot all situated. So you can see Dab mid-speed run once again, absolutely blistering pace across the map. And they're looking to set an even better time than they have in that first place spot with 8 minutes.
Yeah, seeing lots of consistency from DabPlays right now. And I get the feeling these guys have worked out these routes and this plan ahead of time and really put some reps in. Ace Lawrence finding an extraction on the middle of the map. Far less to run given that extraction point. Able to get 6:39 on the time. But does he hit that minimum loot value this time? We saw him fall far short. And again, 22,000. He's putting up really fast times, but we have not seen him extract with even 50% of that 100K loot value yet. So while clearly showing he's got the ability to get on and off this map, get to the extraction quickly, we got to see him find those items. As DabPlays in a gunfight with the guards here, trying to breach into Motel, and you see in the gunfight, they do not slow down. They do not stop moving. This is what I'm talking about, flowing through the gunfight as Dab takes down a guard on the stairs and beelines straight for the hallway safe at Motel.
And when you're that experienced, that confident, you can play it like an arcade shooter and basically just run and jump around corners to try to make this the fastest run possible. It seems like Ace Lawrence's team is trying really hard to make sure that they set a speed run record for this one, because once again, they haven't really put a whole lot into calculating those loot values, or if they have, they seem confident that the next run that they find is going to give them either a better spawn point or better RNG on that first loot spot. So it seems very much like their game plan is check one loot spot. If it doesn't give you what you need, hit the extract, hit the reset button, and see if you can hit it with a follow-up. So I would assume probably once we get a little closer to that 10-minute time, we see a little bit more commitment to hitting the loot goal, because obviously worst thing that you could possibly do is get a 30-minute time for one of these maps. And right here, Wynnsanity going to loot up a little bit more, but quite a good bit of time spent already on this map. Looks like a decent amount of loot, so hopefully not too much more that they need to pick up to be able to hit the extract.
Yeah, and what we saw from Wynsanity's team there is teammates fanning out and finding where the loot is and then hitting the call out. Now, remember, the team leader has to loot the item here, right? So what we won't see is teams that stack up all the loot into a backpack and just leave a backpack for the team leader at the extraction point. That's not a valid tactic here, but we do see teammates going out and getting the information, making the call out to the team leader so they can have an efficient route to at least where that loot sits and get an opportunity to loot that item. So some higher level tactics at play maybe here based on the experience of Wynsanity's teammates, those guys coming through in the clutch, giving them some instruction. And DabPlays through Motel, still not even on the map for 4 minutes yet, and he's out of his loot area, looking like he has the minimum loot value. We see Dab sprinting towards an extraction here. I don't know where his closest extraction point is, but if it looks like he's going to the path to the restricted area, we may see a 6 minute 20-second time from Dab here with plenty of loot in the bag. Ace Lawrence back into his next game. Seemingly moving pretty quickly here, but he got a pretty far spawn all the way on the other side of Grain Trade Center. So a lot of ground to cover, and we need to see some loot for him. Dab still moving closer to that extraction point. Lots of traffic to deal with here right in the middle of the road with the speed that he has to keep up in order to get there. But he's in a race right now. It's a foot race. And you know what I don't see from Dab, Bobby? I don't see energy drinks and red stem shots. That would allow him to sprint basically the entire way back. There we get some taurine, but potentially the opportunity to shave a little bit more time off of this with a little bit more loadout planning.
Definitely had some shots up ahead, so presumably some guards to deal with. If it ends up being a real team, that's going to put big-time minutes back on the clock for them, as could have big-time repercussions. So Ace Lawrence looking a little frustrated the last time that we saw his POV. Maybe just not finding, like you said, the spawn points that they were really looking for, whatever it is. but I'm curious to see if they bounce back, because based on the times that they've been able to achieve, I have high expectations for them. Right here, taking a look at Wynnsanity. They have now been on the map for about 10 minutes, so no real chance of this to be a first place time for map number 1. Obviously, he's got those experienced players, but team chemistry always going to play a role, and they've definitely got to try to get out of this one as quickly as possible if they want to have a chance. And unfortunately for him, not a whole lot of energy. Got to wait for the energy drink to pop right here before he can vault over, and once again, every second counts.
One thing I do love from Wynnsanity here is you notice he's injured. He's injured, but he's choosing to not stop and heal. Instead, he just popped painkillers and kept sprinting towards the extraction. That's a great decision to see from Wynnsanity, as we were talking just a minute ago about all the time it was taking him to get those heals in. And looking like he's going to come in at about 10 minutes and 10 seconds, 10 minutes and 15 seconds, a time that allows him to stay in this, post a score, his teammates taking all the damage from the concertina wire there at the extraction point. They are trolling with blacked out legs on the extraction, but a successful extraction from Wynnsanity here. 10 minutes and 11 seconds, and I think plenty of loot in the bag, so he is able to post a qualifying time in round 1. Let's check it out. 140,000, meeting that minimum value, and Wynnsanity now on the board and in the game.
Yeah, definitely a solid time to put up right there. Puts him in second place, and we haven't seen any absurdly fast runs. 8scope does have that 11-minute time, so we know they've qualified there and already made their way in towards some of these safes. Once again, the loot gods not looking to be on their side with that one. A broken LCD that's not going to have a whole lot of value. They're only at, what, a minute and a half in right here. So if they can get a couple solid pickups, could potentially have the makings of a good run. But it is all about speed and how they're able to make their way through these loot points. Once again, taking a look back at Ace Lawrence, about 4 minutes in already, and a lot of footsteps around that they're going to have to deal with.
Yep, you know, one of the things that we haven't really seen too much of is real pressure from geared teams, and you're not going to see too much of that on farm. But as we progress in this game, as we get into these later rounds, the pressure from other teams that these guys have to deal with is going to ratchet up massively. Dab able to shave 7 seconds off of his previous extraction time. That might not seem like a lot, but when we get these times down below 7 and 8 minutes, every single second counts. And still, at over 230K in loot value, DabPlays, seemingly the only guy on the map having absolutely zero issues with loot value and posting the fastest time we've seen so far. Dab's coming through. He's got some fans in the chat as well. And what I would love to see from the chat, we're early in this competition. We've got times and loot values all over the map. Who do you think, from the chat, early prediction, who is taking this event today? I see a lot of Dab fans, a lot of Wynnsanity fans in the chat, but I want to see some predictions. So hit us with those predictions as we see 8scope in the expected sprint towards Motel right now. It seems he did not get the loot value he needed in that early spot over there at Grain Trade Center, and he's going to have to hit a second built-up area to be able to max out that loot, get enough to beat that minimum requirement.
Unfortunately for him, they're only about 3 minutes in on this run, so not necessarily set up for a bad time quite yet. I would like to see one more solid run out of Dab's squad. It's going to be tough to make it before that deadline, but once again, that's a lot of loot picked up that they didn't really necessarily need. So for somebody like him who's been playing Arena Breakout as long as he is and is that used to maximizing their loot, maybe making some adjustments to try to set yourself up for a faster run, because right now it's not like they're playing bad. It's just that they probably could be doing a lot better than they are given how much extra loot that they picked up. So I like to see some of those quick calculations on the fly to try to shave off some extra time. But as of right now, they've got the 2 fastest times on the map so far. Not a bad spot for them to be right now. 8scope mid-engagement, going to be able to put in some damage, and teammate Karma going to be there to back things up.
Yeah, absolutely. I love to see that move from the teammate. 8-Scope taking a little bit of damage. He could have stayed in that gunfight, but the teammate moving forward, taking a little bit more risk, not requiring him to stop for a long time and deal with heals. And they may have just downed an entire team there. If that's a full TAC Ops team, there's always going to be 100K loot on 3 or 4 TAC Ops players. And so that's part of this RNG as well. He's got that level 5, an MPX, all the loot he needs off of one player right here. We should see Xscope take a massive move, a sprint towards the extract very, very soon, because he just picked up a gun that is worth tens of thousands of dollars in just that weapon. So these guys are going to need to transition, get out of there quickly. And now we see Wynnsanity out on farmland, dealing with a little bit of traffic there. That looked like a potentially downed other player, but these guys moving towards their loot. But Wynnsanity able to down a player with an FAL, a high value gun, a level 4 armor, level 4 helmet. That GS2 headset by itself is 18K. So Wynnsanity maybe with some early RNG. We saw a really quick time, a really early time on his screen. Ace Lawrence finally getting an extract. Definitely a great time at 7 minutes, but is he able to finally hit that loot value? Bobby, he's got to hit. And he does! The Razor's Edge!
The mental math on that one, just barely hitting that 100K mark, and that's definitely the run that they were looking for. Obviously, not going to be a record-breaking run by any means, but will put them in first place here on map number 1, and showing they definitely knew what they were getting into on this one. The earlier maps weren't a fluke, just trying to maximize their opportunity to make those quick runs, and you can see Wynnsanity with all that loot already picked up in only 2 minutes and 20 seconds off the clock. They may very well be able to move into first place if they can get to that extraction in time.
He's got a long way to run. Now, remember, on farmland, there are mid-map extraction points, but those mid-map extraction points all have a 10-minute countdown timer that starts at the beginning of the game. So for the level of competition in this game, you know, waiting for that 10-minute countdown timer plus the 1-minute extraction timer, which is exactly what we see here, right on Southern Blockade, conditions not met. It's 10 minutes after the raid starts. So these guys have an entire 3 minutes under fire, a teammate going down dead on the extraction point that they can't even use yet, pulling out grenades, hoping for a better result, maybe an opportunity to get out of here. But that mistake, going to an extraction that won't be open for another 3 minutes, that's going to put 8-Scope in a position where he, at the best case scenario, is shaving 4 seconds off of his previous time. And so I think a major mistake here for taking one of these timed extraction points that isn't even available yet, and then getting stuck in that corner and losing a teammate. We may see our first team falter here a little bit on farm.
Yeah, definitely a crucial mistake, and with only 3 minutes 45 seconds remaining on the clock, no chance for them to make a second run. With that being said, they do have that 11-minute run, and we do also see the times updated at the bottom of the leaderboard. So Ace Lawrence now moving into first place, 7 minutes and 32 seconds. Fastest run so far. Wynnsanity we saw in the middle of that quick run, or at least what it seemed it would be. So I'm curious to see his POV and whether or not they're able to hit a quick extraction off of that one, because like you said, taking down a full squad, giving them that instant loot value, they absolutely have an opportunity to set the fastest time on this map, but they're running out of time pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see 8-Scope looting the teammate there. A reminder, your teammate's loot does not count towards your extraction loot value. That the game won't even show that as value. It goes right back to your teammate. So any teammate looting we see is just them prepping so their teammate has an easier reset for the next game. But absolutely no chance for 8-Scope to get this extraction in the 2 minutes and 30 seconds unless he has a miracle run to another one of the extraction points. DabPlays, 31 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock here, so an opportunity to get a quick extraction maybe before the deadline, but with both legs blacked out, throwing emergency grenades to give himself some security and some space, taking an interesting angle, but dealing with guards, potentially other players, up on a higher level with this building, having to stop to heal. This level of damage he just took is pretty catastrophic, and this is going to significantly limit his opportunities to get another quick extraction here. I am very interested to see what Wynnsanity's extraction time is. Lots of loot right off of those kills, and we see DabPlays really, his teammates really doing some work to give him that space to be able to heal. Wynsanity on the extraction right now.
Wow.
Let's see if he pulls off a fast one. We have a potential sub 6 minute. There it is, 5 minutes and 44 seconds. Does he get the loot value?
That's the question. We saw what looked like a full squad taken down. It's the moment of truth right here as we wait to see those numbers at 179,000 on a 544 run. With that, Wynnsanity and his team move into first place. And coming into this, we talked about the players that he's going in there with. Pretty much a god squad when it comes to Arena Breakout, and showing exactly why as they post the fastest time for map 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And before that time's posted, we had a 3.5 minute gap between the first place time and the second place time. Now we have a over a 5 minute gap, right? And as we start to get into the teams between first and last place, when that gap starts to approach 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, it gets harder and harder to close as we get later on in this competition. So Wynnsanity posting that sub 6 minute time puts huge pressure on all of these teams going into our next map. DabPlays dealing with all of the gunfight frustration right now, slowing down his movement towards the extraction time, and 8scope barely being able to get that extraction in under this time limit with 17 seconds left in the round. Like I said, only shaving a couple of seconds off of that time. But given that time that Wynnsanity just posted, every second matters. Let's see if he's got that loot value here. Waiting for the last couple of seconds. More than enough. Probably the highest loot value we've seen coming off of farm. And so huge, unfortunate mistake with regard to that extraction timer. And we see DabPlays has DabPlays not been in a gunfight at all this game? I mean, he has been through gunfight through gunfight. Could not have more traffic on the way to the extraction point.
I think at this point, his main concern is just not losing the loot and having to reset up everything that he had coming into that first map. So it looks like he'll be able to stay alive, and they'll likely be able to extract. Not by any means going to be anything close to the best time for them. As you can see, it's already, 7 minutes in, and the clock has expired up at the top of the screen. So that cements that first place time for Wynnsanity squad. And having that best time by nearly 2 minutes is going to put a lot of pressure on the rest of the teams as we head into those later maps as well.
Yeah, and something that's exciting here, though, is this is one of the closer round ones we've seen. In some of these other iterations of the triathlon event, by the end of our round one farm, we see one, maybe two teams who are theoretically or potentially out of contention already after farm. But right now, everyone is still in the game. DabPlays being able to get off of the map, save the loot and his loadout that he had, and these guys are going to be prepping to get into our next round. They're going to do their full reset of gear, and we may see some changes in gear, in guns. Moving on to Valley, it's a bigger map, a little bit less focus on PvP. Farm is known among the community here as the PvP map outside of Armory, right? But Valley, a little bit bigger, longer lanes. We may see a little bit more use of the sniper, a little bit more AR, probably very few SMGs in the group if we see some of those gun changes. So these guys getting ready for their match on Valley. Bobby, what do you think about that farm result? Wynnsanity coming out big there at the end.
I mean, I was a little bit worried given how long it took the first couple of runs, but it at the end of the day only takes one ridiculous run for you to be able to take a blazing time and to set yourself apart from the rest of the competition. So it's the fact that it wasn't even just that it was RNG that blessed them. They had to take down that full squad to be able to get that loot to meet the loot minimum and also get to the extraction in time, even with all the meds that you have to deal with on the way. So that was a phenomenal performance by them. Obviously, when you've got that amount of combined arena breakout experience between all the players on your teams, it's going to set you up really well for success.
Yeah, absolutely. And Wynnsanity covering one of the two high risk, high reward strategies we haven't talked about yet. You know, up to this point, we've talked about all of these teams rushing into the highest loot density area on the map, the most likely PvP area on the map, which on farm is clearly Motel. But what we saw from Wynnsanity and what we saw a couple of hints at for some of these other teams are two additional high-risk, high-reward strategies we may see going forward. And one of those is the rush to the other spawn point, drop a team. And that's what we saw Wynnsanity be successful with. Here are our farm results. Wynnsanity with that 5 minute and 44 second extraction, 179k loot value. Ace Lawrence, I got a theory, Bobby. I think he had no idea how close he was to that 100k mark. I think he was potentially a little more comfortable than he should have been and got a bit of a shock when he saw that loot screen. But coming in under the razor's edge with 882 coin above the minimum value with 732. DabPlays 801 and 8scope with 1101. 8scope with a little bit of space to make up here. So I expect 8scope to be a great candidate for one of these high risk, high reward strategies going into Valley, which is our next map.
Yeah, I've got a feeling they've got somebody on their team who's sitting there and he's like shouting out the values of everything that he's picking up, and they've got a calculator they're typing everything in on, and as soon as he's got enough, they're heading out of the map. That's just my guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it and everything, but they did see.
Bobby, are we going to see the return of the Casio calculator watch? I feel like that calculator watch from the early 1990s may be a piece of OP gear for this esports format. Imagine that calculator right on your wrist as you're playing that mobile game Fingers on Glass. And this is where we saw Wynnsanity in the gunfight. DabPlays flowing through these gunfights, never stopping the sprint. And Wynnsanity, one of his successful extractions there. But I'm telling you, that calculator watch may be making a comeback because of this game in this format.
Honestly, they make gaming watch, or not gaming watches, but they make smartwatches now that you can play mobile games on. We could potentially, one of these days, see one player who's got a smartwatch on one wrist, they've got a calculator watch on the other, and they're using both hands at the same time to maneuver both watches to set record times for Arena Breakout. That's just a pipe dream, but that is something I would love to see one day.
Hey, listen, that's just all that is brainstorming on how to min-max every single aspect of this format. And we know all of these teams are making those plans for Valley, which is coming up. And what we just saw a second ago there was that spot where 8scope got bogged down on that extraction point. And one of the things that I think we need to look out for going into our later maps, and this is big on Armory, is the likelihood of getting stuck in a gunfight, right? You want to be in those gunfights. That's an opportunity to take out a team, pull all of that loot. There's no more concentrated area on the map to find loot than on a dead enemy player. But when you get bogged down in these gunfights, you can't take a 4-minute gunfight and expect to have a competitive time in these games.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the difference of map changes the strategies for some of these teams, and maybe for guys like 8scope that are known a little bit more for their snipes might have an advantage on Valley. But we do want to talk to you guys about something that Arena Breakout has actually just started. As part of their support for their content creators, they have started to launch the Golden Lions Legion. Mod, say us a little bit about it.
Listen, you know I'm a big fan of everything Golden Lion I've got a Golden Lion in my hand right now. So this is one more thing to get excited about with the Golden Lions Legion. Arena Breakout is really, really excited to be supporting content creators. I haven't seen a push like this from almost any other game, and they have created the Golden Lions Legion. The Golden Lions Legion is an opportunity to get rewards for creating content, be a part of the content creator community with this game, elite membership status, those gold bonds that get you all of those benefits and bundles in the game. And you have an opportunity to join the Golden Lions Legion now. Hit up arenabreakout.com/creator hub, and that's on the third asset on that page. You will find it. Join content creators like myself, Bobby, Little B, Zifan, competitors, all of these guys in this game having a great time searching for that Golden Lion. Come be a part of the Golden Lions Legion. And maybe one day you can have an IRL Golden Lion. You might be this cool as part of the Golden Lions Legion. I love this little statue.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's exciting. I'll be a part of it for sure. For sure.
Love the way that Arena Breakout is especially supporting the content creator community. And I think a big reason why we've seen so many content creators start to make the move over toward Arena Breakout. We've seen guys like Ice Stream start to really blow up. We've got Sade, who's Wynnsanity's teammate. His content's been doing really well, and love to see a different side of the mobile gaming community that is more tactical, more analytical, and I think that provides more opportunity for content creators to really shine as well. So excited for this opportunity for content creators, and definitely something you guys want to check out. Once again, arenabreakout.com/creator hub.
Yeah, the Golden Lions Legion is fun. I love the dynamic in this game with the focus on like the gold bonds, the gold bars, the gold statues on the map. The loot on the game is actually really fun and exciting to find. Now, I just found in-game my first ever Golden Lion since global launch. And before I get into that story, those redemption codes are below. We've got 5 redemption codes. It's a race to get that bundle. Get yourself that elevated gear and get in the game. I can promise you won't be looting my body, so you got to get that gear from somewhere. Hit up that redemption code and get in there. But I found my first Golden Lion on farm in covert ops mode, right? The lowest level mode, covert ops on farmland. I pulled a Golden Lion out of one of the free safes, and it's without a doubt some of the most exciting experience you can have in the game to find that dark gold loot item, hundreds of thousands of coin, knowing that that one loot item gives you all the cash you need to build a complete armory loadout. So I love the loot dynamic in this game, and the loot items themselves are a lot of fun. And yeah, join the Golden Lions Legion, redeem those codes in game, get your bundles, and a lot of exciting things going on with this game right now. So Bobby, how do you think some of these tactics are going to change from the teams? What would you be looking at as kind of the guidance you give your team, knowing they're going on to a bigger, little bit more wide open map, and really only one major hotspot for PvP and loot on this map?
Well, I was looking at chat, and Little B was saying something about the RV strat. I don't know if that's something that you can speak to, or if that's something that only he and Shifan know about.
No, okay. So let's talk about the RV strat. So there's a dynamic in this where it goes into the preparation, right? And part of the preparation in this is knowing which rooms are locked on the map, knowing what keys you need to bring on the map. There is one locked room at RV camp, and this is one of those high risk, high reward strategies. So that strategy is to hit a non-central loot location, right? So the central loot location on Valley is Villa. Going somewhere else with the right key, knowing you're going to hit less traffic, not have to go all the way across the map, but you're taking a chance, right? Big time RNG, you have one locked room to have a chance to get your loot value. But the fact of the matter is, some of these locked rooms have an opportunity to give you hundreds of thousands of loot value. So we may see either of those high risk, high reward strategies where you hit a non-standard loot location and hope for the best, or where you run to another team's spawn point, try to win that gunfight, and never go to the hot area on the map. Get it out of the way early, close to the spawn, and then sprint to that extract. So I'm interested to see if we see the RV camp strat, if we see the spawn rush strat, or if we see a bunch of teams go to Villa in this game. Let's get into Valley. We've got our teams in the game, and I'm excited to see what methods these guys choose for how they get their loot and get to the extraction.
Yeah, apparently Little B was actually spoiling strats in chat, so maybe we see that picked up by one of these other squads. To be honest, I doubt that there's a whole lot that Wynnsanity squad is going to be learning that they haven't already known about the game. I think showing that level of mastery on map number 1, ridiculous time they put up, absolutely cementing themselves as the team to beat. But Ace Lawrence taken down off spawn. definitely did not expect to see that. And he's taken down by Musket right there is what, 2 minutes and 36 seconds in. We see what I believe to be our first creator taken down, and the first one happening here on map 2.
And it looks like we do see Wynnsanity in RV camp. We're gonna, if he opens the door and then does not run straight south, we know he's doing the RV strat. So it looks like he has run past that locked door. So this may just be their route down to Villa, but this is RV camp. You can see from RV camp, you have a lot of visibility. This is a very safe location to be once you've cleared it, seized that terrain. They've got lots of visibility, lots of coverage of those avenues of approach. But what we see is a lot of looking around and not a lot of looting right now. So we're going to see if Wynnsanity unlocks those doors. He may have a teammate checking out the loot while they cover security right now. But this is RV camp. And a content creator, a player, a competitor here going down early. It's exactly what I mentioned before. As these maps escalate, these guys are going to run into more traffic, have to deal with more other players in higher gear, and have the potential to get locked down in a gunfight or even get knocked off the map like we've seen already. Wynnsanity still covering all of this area, making sure there's no threat. They must think that there's a team over there and they're concerned to move, but this is something they have to avoid, is getting bogged down in these situations and not moving across the map with some fluidity here.
And I think that was maybe the only player that needed to be dealt with right there. 8scope putting in a lot of damage, and I don't think he realizes maybe hitting some shots up against the rock right there as well. Finally able to take him down, but maybe a little bit more ammo than he would have liked to use right there. And more than likely, other players he's going to need to watch out for. So already seeing a lot more engagements off the start of this one than we did for basically the entire 30 minutes on farm.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is a TAC Ops team that they just downed one of the team members of. So they're looking for the other players on this guy's team, potentially a solo, but not really that likely. So you see the kind of caution that they're showing as they approach to loot this body. And if 8scope, I mean, it took quite a few rounds for him to get that kill. So we may be looking at somebody with some high value armor and an early kill for Team 8scope here. A real opportunity to pick up some value early on in this game, and that is definitely a TAC Ops player. Unfortunately, not the most loot value there to hit that 200k, but definitely solid progress really early in this round for Team 8scope. When DabPlays now in Villa, this is what I expect to see from a lot of these teams, is the sprint to Villa, clear the area, hit the safes, and then get out of there. And it looks like DabPlays already exiting Villa with more than 30 minutes left on the clock. So a really, really fast move into the high loot area on this map and already racing for the extraction. We may see some quality times put up here by DabPlays in this early round.
And that's another thing you got to keep in mind, is that the loot count increases here on map 2. So given the numbers we saw Dab's team putting up on map 1, this may set them up for better success, given that they were all 200k plus runs, with the exception of that final run where they didn't hit the loot goal. So looks like some more TAC Ops players here they're going to be able to loot off of, and maybe enough value for them to hit a quick extract, as they didn't quite find everything they needed on that initial loot through. Obviously, Wynnsanity hitting a couple stems right here as he looks to continue moving across.
I love to see Wynnsanity learning the lesson from the long run out he had in the previous round. You see him with those red stem shots for endurance, speeding up his movement on this map. And Wynnsanity in Villa as well, probably one of the most consistent tactics that we are going to see, unless these guys get a crazy squad wipe or some really early off-site loot RNG. But these guys are going to look to move through Villa very, very quickly here, hit all of the safes, and spread out so that they can do that efficiently. But Wynnsanity already at the 6-minute mark in this game, and we saw DabPlays exiting Villa at the 4-minute mark. So it's definitely some difference in these teams' ability to get to the loot quickly, and every little bit of time, every one of those minutes matters at this point. Wynnsanity not looking to have too much trouble with the loot, but he's going to need to move through this area quickly to be able to catch up to some of those teams that are already headed to that extraction point.
Yeah, and not a ton of luck so far. I don't think any of those items worth above 7,000, and with 200,000 being the goal, they're going to once again have to start moving quickly right here. Taking a look at 8 scope, it looks like another body they're going to be able to loot off of. Fully destroyed armor right there, but or rather his armor being fully destroyed. So you got to be careful with your approach, but it looks like DabPlays and squad going to be able to extract here fairly quickly. And I think probably questions about whether or not they've hit that loot goal for them to be able to actually have a qualifying run.
Yeah, that extraction point requires 3 dog tags in most situations to be able to do the extraction successfully. And so they may have an issue with dog tags, they may have an issue with loot value, or just the countdown timer availability in some cases here. So navigating their way, trying to figure out how to get to the extraction. But DabPlays already down past the 7-minute mark and moving towards potential threat here in Villa. And we have not seen a successful extraction yet. Nobody getting the really quick luck on the loot or luck in the gunfight to be able to get off of the map in anything close to some of those record times. So we should see these guys, go through this iteration a couple of times. Dab having what seems like quite a bit of loot, but maybe not quite at that 200K mark yet. And I expect to see this all over the place. These red stem shots, the blue stem shots, those are what blue handles the overweight. It increases your capacity, allows you to ignore that overweight status, and red speeds up your rate of endurance recovery. And we're going to see these players use all of those tools to be able to speed up their movement across this map. And Dab utilizing everything available there. 8 scope, another TAC Ops player. This map has been spicy for these guys today. Gunfights in all directions, and a little bit of value here with 8 scope being able to pull off a couple of optics and a couple of high value items off of a couple of these TAC Ops players that they've downed. Now we see Wynnsanity.
Yeah, it looks like Wynnsanity going to be able to extract here. Still 47 seconds, so not quite going to be a sub 9-minute time, but once again, very solid setup early on for this squad. And as expected, assuming they've got the loot value that they need, should be set up well. A couple of gold items right there. And it seems like doing some last-minute calculations to see whether or not it's going to add up to that 200K mark.
He's close, but that cane, I believe, is about 75K by itself. I could be wrong there. So he may very well have the he walked out of the extraction point. He walked out of the zone for the extraction. It looks like Wynnsanity may not be able to extract here and is going to need to run all the way across the map. There we go. The team realizing they made that crucial mistake are going to have to take another 4 minutes potentially to get across the map. That essentially puts that entire run out of play for Wynnsanity. Oh, the second time we've seen a crucial extraction mistake from one of these teams. These details matter. That's a tragedy.
Yeah, that's definitely one that's going to hurt. And looks like Dab's just going to go ahead and take the L on that one. Head back to the lobby. A lot of frustration for all of these squads is nobody really hitting those marks that they've been looking to. And it's definitely been a much shakier start than we saw on map number 1, where teams were putting up qualifying runs with decent times on their first run through. Right now, Ace Lawrence hitting the full reset, but it looked like the golden lion right there, and they're right by the extraction. Oh my gosh. We're going to see a record here. 2 minutes.
Best execution of the RV strat I've ever seen.
I can't believe what I just saw. A gold lion and a 2:28 run for Ace Lawrence.
Unbelievable. I didn't even think an extraction time like that was possible. He gets potentially the best loot item in the game. 488,000 in loot value. That golden line is going to get it done on any one of these maps, and a new record for the Triathlon Series format with a sub 230 extraction. Bobby, that brings him all the way back into contention as a potential runaway victor in this event with a single game early on in this Valley iteration. Unbelievable execution of the RV strat. Wow.
And not just a record for the map, but a record for any map. The RV strat pays off big time with that one. Wowzers, could not have asked for anything better. And I have a feeling we will not see a better time than that on any map anytime soon, because the number of things that have to go right for that to happen to set you up for success, it no question is going to catapult them into the first place position, especially with the struggles that we've seen for the rest of the squads just getting their extractions in general.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, these guys, and this happens in esports all the time, right? At a high competitive level, these guys really thinking of every way to min-max this format. At this point, these guys are making me question what's even realistically possible in this game. A 2-minute and 28-second extract is insane. All the loot value needed, and now the rest of these teams under pressure. That's a huge gap he's going to create with that time. We see 8scope now working through these guards, and the speed that these guys are going to have just to compete at this point is going to be pretty unbelievable, and lots of frustration at this point on Valley. We have 3 teams that don't really have extraction times at this point that really keep them in contention now that we've seen a 228. So looking to see a couple of fast runs, plenty of time left in this round with over 16 minutes left. Guys have enough time to get at least 2 more runs if they're efficient. And so this is still wide open, but a wildly successful extraction time with the fastest we've ever seen in this game in a live event.
Yeah, an 8-scope squad has got to speed run toward the extraction, because with the amount of time they've spent on this, having spent, obviously you don't want a 30-minute time, but you definitely don't want a 15-minute time either, and it looks like that's what they're set up for right here. So they've got to get out of this one as quickly as possible, get back into the action. And I'm curious how many of them are maybe paying attention to the stream, maybe see that strat that we saw out of Ace Lauren's squad. If we maybe see a couple more teams try to make that push toward RV and see if they can test their luck there. But DabPlays squad right back into the action. Not their best run on map number 1. They get the full reset, and right now making their way across the map.
Yep, there's an opportunity here at Port, but I think it would be a mistake. He's on the western side of Valley here, and there's a locked room at Port, but we see him looking to run right past that. Now, it's important to remember that a strat like the RV strat takes experience in planning, because there are keys like that all over this map, but to know which room, to know which key has that high likelihood of value and the potential for that close extraction. That's not going to work with every one of those keys. That's not going to work on every map. So we see Dab running past the Port locked room opportunity and headed straight to Villa. And this is one of the most dangerous areas on the map to be running. 8scope finally at the extraction point, potentially with enough value. He's got some optics in there, and you never know the value of the ammo these guys could loot off of other players. But with a 15:44 time, even if he hits that minimum loot value, not quite enough to keep him in contention and compete with some of these fast times that we see. 324,000 hitting that minimum loot value with no problem, getting himself on the board in Valley, but definitely going to look to see him get back into this game and try and put up a faster time. DabPlays, with his consistent strategy here, runs straight into Villa, but running into huge traffic. He's downed. He's about to die potentially. He's got to get behind the cover, and it's going to be up to his teammates to be able to get him up. He goes down. Dab experiencing nothing but frustration up to this point, and that is the risk. He wasn't even killed by attack ops player. It looks like he was killed by a guard. And so the recklessness with which you have to run across this map to speed that time up, presenting huge risk, and we see the consequences of that with DabPlays. We will look to see him immediately reset.
All right, well, just instantly.
Yeah, and you can see the tilt on his face right there, and that automatically means they can't get anything out of that run. It has to be the team lead that gets that extraction value. So for them to not take away anything out of that one, they got to wait for the rest of the players to extract as well, and definitely not looking great as obviously that's got to take a mental toll as well. You combine on top of that the run that we saw out of Ace Lawrence's squad, that puts that much more pressure on the rest of the team. So you can see Zach Frags trying to take some of these gunfights, but these guys really have to just make their way out of the map as quickly as possible. And if you're Dab, the biggest thing you got to do is not get tilted off that one unfortunate scenario and see if you can still find a way to make something out of the remaining 12 minutes.
Yeah, and you know, the mistake there was he's spectating Zach, and you see how far away the teammate was from where DabPlays went down. And the unfortunate thing we just saw was Zach just downed a team. Zach just downed 2 players from a team. If DabPlays wasn't that far ahead of his team, they may have not even had to go to Villa. And so the frustration with a little bit of team separation and the risk that presents, causing DabPlays to have to reset and take another shot here. Wynnsanity in the game, a decent spawn, and moving down towards that Valley Villa with his teammates, Sade and Trashy out front. That is who you want to have running in front of you in this game. And Wynnsanity looking confident, but some ground to make up given the scores that we've seen. And looking like this is going to be a competition between the Villa strat and the RV strat, with the RV strat the clear leader in that at this point.
Yeah, I'm curious what time we saw at a win squad. It's possible they didn't even manage to extract because we don't see an updated time at the bottom of the screen. And for the rest of the squads, that extra time for their second run has already been added on. So even though it shows Ace Lawrence in third place, that's because DabPlays and Wynn have not had qualifying times on the rest of their runs for this second map. So for all intents and purposes, it's really Ace and 8-Scope in first place and second place right now. Obviously, Wynn trying to make his way across the map, and once again, a lot of players taken down, but no looting being done, so they're definitely still looking for some more opportunities, making sure his teammates are with him. Obviously, you want to be fast at all means possible, but you don't want to be excessively risky like we saw out of Dab on that run where they got taken down.
And Trashy dropping a player pretty early here. Potential high value on that player they killed. That player may have 200k of armor, weapons, and ammo on him. So we may see a early opportunity here in this game for Wynnsanity to have a really efficient looting opportunity with his teammate downing a Tac Ops player right off the jump on their way to Valley Villa. And we see 8-Scope here again on his way to the loot, teammates moving out in front, and these teams not having a whole lot of issue with their ability to kind of move in that safe formation, take these engagements as they need to, but plenty of problems with being able to coordinate that with loot value and with fast extraction times. And so a lot more difficulty, a lot more bumps in the road for some of these teams once we get into Valley, and that dynamic only increases as we get further into this. That's only more difficult to deal with in Armory. And so, like I said, we may see an unbelievably blistering fast extraction from Ace Lawrence here, but he still has to be successful on Valley. Plenty of opportunities left for these teams. All of these teams with a chance to get another run here as well. So looking to see some great results. 8-Scope in a gunfight, safe, behind cover, but definitely slowing down his pace across the map as a result of these threats.
Do you think Ace Lawrence team even bother playing another map? Like the odds that they actually get another qualifying time faster than that one, I feel like have to be close to zero. But given the fact that it worked out it's kind of like, something like that happens, you go buy a lottery ticket, maybe you hop back into the map and see if it's really your day like that. Do you think they give another shot at it?
I think the first thing he's going to do is sell that golden lion. He's going to get that loot value because he may be able to buy a couple $100K worth of top tier ammo going into the next game. But hey, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily possible to get a faster time than that. And the luck on the loot where one item accounts for your entire required loot value. But at this point, I don't think I can make an accurate prediction of what's possible in this game after what we just saw. So, yeah, they may be taking a break, or they may be just getting in some reps with the team and trying to keep their momentum up, stay warm for that next round. But the pressure is definitely off of Ace Lawrence. As the rest of these teams, we see AScope with that 26-minute and 45-second update to account for his successful extraction, but we do not see a qualifying extraction time yet from DabPlays or Wynnsanity, two of the teams that were, potential arguable favorites for the chat and for us coming into this game, struggling in our second round.
Yep, you can see 8scope picking up some loot off of a Tech Ops player right here. Doesn't look like really a ton of value to be gained off of it, though. And searching pockets, maybe some ammo that he can pick up, and he is going to be able to find some gold ammo. So once again, you get that value. And it's still not the end of the world if you have to loot a couple additional places. You're only 4 minutes in, and especially with the struggles that we've seen for Wynnsanity and Dab squads, Wynnsanity and Dab squads, you're really just competing with them right now because there's no realistic way that you're going to be able to match Ace Lawrence's time for what they did finding that golden lion. But if you can keep things closer with Wynn and Dab squads, you give yourselves a chance, especially hoping that Ace and his squad have a bad map 3.
Yeah, absolutely. The goal is to stay in a close second place at this point because all bets are off in Armory, and you never know how those games are going to go, where you're going to get stuck in the gunfight. And we see DabPlays with 6 minutes and 15 seconds left on this round, absolutely racing towards Villa. I'm interested to see if he's out ahead of his teammates again and deciding that risk is prudent, because that is obviously a very risky move to be out on your own racing towards the loot. But the fact of the matter is the loot's got to be in his backpack. It's got to be on him in his inventory. So he's got to get there and get out really, really quickly. And a 6.5 minutes to do it in is not a lot of time for Team DabPlays, using all of the stem shots, all of the energy drinks possible to keep his pace up. And he is taking the most direct line to the loot right now, absolutely throwing his regard for risk into the wind. He just does not care. He is sprinting across the beach. I pray and hope for TAC Ops players when I'm playing Valley to do what Dab is doing right now because of how risky it is and how easy it is to kill someone in that environment. But he's taken all the risks to try and get that qualifying time on the board here. And 8scope potentially having down that TAC Ops team, having enough loot value here. We see him moving across the map, and he has an opportunity to shave significant time off of that first 15-minute extraction time. But I'm worried about Wynnsanity and DabPlays. A 30-minute time here. 30-minute time, Bobby, is absolutely horrible for the long-term opportunity to compete going into this last round.
Well, he does pick up a cane out of that safe, so a solid start to getting toward that 100K, or rather 200K mark. This man's sweating so hard, he's popping energy drinks IRL as well, so he's doing everything that he can to try to give himself a chance at winning here. And you can hear the footsteps, the gunshots all around, trying to clear out as many of these corners because you cannot afford for him to get taken down here. Definitely priority on his teammates taking those gunfights, and he's quickly making his way to as many safes as he possibly can, hoping and praying for the golden line, and does get a golden necklace right there. So a solid start for him is some decent loot out of those first couple of safes.
That may be all the loot
is that
he
200K?
needs.
Oh my
gosh. That may be all the loot he needs between that cane and that necklace. And if he's able to to get. Yes, you see him celebrating there. It
He's
looks like they're going to be able to
pumped.
get this
Yeah.
extraction. DabPlays with a sub 5 minute extraction potential here. We're going to need to see the confirmation, but we see
that's a
400K
I didn't realize that was
on the golden
400K.
necklace.
That's so good.
That's what I thought it
Wow.
was. I thought that golden necklace was going to be good enough. He gets that gold loot, is able to activate this extraction point. It took a lot for him to be able to line all of those things up. This is an activated extraction point. You need those dog tags, so you have to have downed a team. He had to find that loot item, and he's perfectly positioned to get a sub 5, barely over 4 minutes on the clock here. Definitely going to hit the loot value needed. And DabPlays right back in it. We saw in the chat everyone cheering for DabPlays to risk it for the biscuit, and he did not disappoint with this high value extraction in a really fast competitive time to keep his team in this event, in this game, and give him some real momentum going into Armory. 4 minutes and 10 seconds for DabPlays.
Wow, what a crucial run, especially given the risky spot that they were in as well. Just question marks around whether they would even be able to extract in time. So not only doing that, but a 400K necklace. And that keeps them competitive, not only with the rest of the teams, but with Ace Lawrence's squad. I'm curious to see how the times will stack up. If I remember correctly, I think Dab's fastest time on map 1 was around 8 minutes. So that should put them close to 12 minutes in total, which is not far at all from the 10 minutes that we saw for Ace Lawrence's squad in total between the first 2 maps. Definitely puts 8scope in a rough spot. Is only 1 minute and 50 left, and it looks like they do not have the loot necessary. Their runs have not looked super speedy either, and looking like they may well be out of contention depending on how this one goes, but they sprint toward the extraction and maybe have enough to be able to get out right here. You can see it's still going to be a 10-minute run, but at least keeping them in contention.
Yeah, he was able to pick up a Northridge key in that last overcoat that he looted, but that's not a super high value key. Depending on what else he has, it might have been enough to put him over the edge of that 200K, but clearly having some issues with that extraction point. If they are not able to extract at the helipad, it does not look like they'll be able to. That typically has a 1 minute countdown timer with less than 1 minute left in the round at this point. 8scope going to have to stick with that 15-minute extraction time, putting himself significantly behind. But unless Wynnsanity in the last minute or two has gotten a successful extraction, Wynnsanity is going to be looking at a total time of 35 minutes and 44 seconds going into this last round, essentially putting his team out of contention. So we'll wait to see on that result. But DabPlays with a 12-minute and 11-second total time, able to pull it in the last couple of minutes and keep himself well within range of upsetting Ace Lawrence at this point. And yeah, some of this is getting extremely competitive and down to the wire to see if these teams, some of them can even meet the minimum extraction requirements. So waiting to see if Wynnsanity is able to put up a result. 8scope at this point, struggling with that extraction point, unable to make it to an extraction by the time the countdown timer hits 0. So we have our scores that they have to have extracted by now, and unfortunately we may see Wynnsanity having to hold down a 30-minute time for Valley.
Yeah, there's obviously a possibility there that maybe they found a way out and the times haven't been entered in yet, but that would be absolutely devastating, especially to walk away from map number 1 in first place and then to follow that up being in 4th place by a wide margin, and especially for the teammates that he's playing with. I would be very surprised if they don't get some type of score posted. Obviously, no guarantee, but we didn't really get to see a whole lot of their run through map 2, so definitely a lot of question marks right now regarding what their time is going to look like. But especially given the times that we've seen from Ace Lawrence's squad and DabPlays, that 30-minute time would 100% put them out of contention.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's what's exciting about this triathlon event as we've progressed forward in this week by week is what we're seeing from these teams are high level strategies to fully optimize the potential of what you can get done on these maps. I love that for the viewers. I love that for the chat, because what you get in this game is an event like this gives everyone awesome ideas for what they want to go try in game. And so that's what I want to see. I need to see people in the comments of future events saying, I pulled off Ace Lawrence's RV strat. I heard it from Little B in the chat, and I went and I got it done, and I got myself a Golden Lion as well. It's fun to see these strategies work out well for some of these players, and hopefully give the chance for everybody who's playing and enjoying this game to try out some new things. So as we finish up our round on Valley, we've seen our highest highs and potentially our lowest lows all on one map, but the story of Valley is Ace Lawrence with the fastest extraction I've ever seen in this game at less than 2 minutes and 30 seconds and a Golden Lion. I love to see it.
Yeah, obviously the biggest question is what those standings are going to look like. Is it going to be Wynnsanity squad posting a qualifying time to keep them in it? And realistically, even if it's, what, a 10-minute time, would not put them that far behind the rest of the competition. But the 30-minute, just not really an option for them. When you said that Ice Stream won one of these events with a 30-minute time, I'm curious, how is that possible? And maybe it's just because as these events have progressed, some of the recurring players have maybe started to figure out the strategies a little bit more?
Well, what happened in that instance is really the only way to win if you log a 30-minute time is for every other team in the event to probably also get stuck with a 30-minute time at some other point. I believe that's what happened. But what that required is, like, they posted a 30-minute time on map 1, and they had to keep it locked down, keep it together, and post good times, just praying that other teams would run into struggles. And that is what happened. Let's take a look at some of these highlights and some of these final scores. There it is. Ace Lawrence, 2 minutes and 28 seconds, a blisteringly fast time with plenty of loot value. Seeing two of some of the highest value loot items in the game with a Golden Lion for Ace Lawrence and a golden necklace for DabPlays. DabPlays squeaking in with that 4 minutes and 10 seconds just before the deadline. 8scope with 15:44 putting time on the board, and Wynnsanity unfortunately posting a 30-minute time without a successful extraction. I think it's pretty safe to say that Wynnsanity's only hope here is if DabPlays and Ace Lawrence struggle with a 30-minute timer on Armory. And up to this point, I don't think it is too likely, but all bets are off when we get into Armory. Let's take a look at some of these highlights, Bobby. Ace Lawrence going down early and struggling early in this game, only to come back magnificently.
Yeah, they no question. I don't even know if we can say they had the biggest bounce back, because Dab Squad was looking like they were in absolute shambles multiple times that they either exited the map or they got taken down. Obviously, Ace Lawrence picking up that Golden Lion. Just ridiculous amounts of luck that have to go into it, but it all comes down to your execution and trying to put yourself into the best position possible to have one of those fast runs, and they did that. So DabPlays, you can see right there going down. It seemed like he wasn't really much interested in staying alive either. Pretty content to get taken out, and it ended up paying off in the long run anyway, as they do get that crazy fast run and keep themselves in the competition. But obviously, the biggest storyline, Wynnsanity and his God Squad posting a 30-minute time, and now going to have to bank on the rest of the teams also doing the same if they're going to have a chance in this one.
And I think probably my favorite point in that Valley game was when we got to see DabPlays realize what was in that loot box, what was in that safe, and give us a near Tiger Woods fist pump as soon as he realized he had a beautiful opportunity for an extraction, and a quick one at that. We are going to be moving towards a break here in a couple of minutes. We're going to take about a 5-minute break. The Armory The armory prep is intense, but before we do that, I want to mention again the Golden Lions Legion. This is an opportunity for content creators to get in the game, join through the Creator Hub there at arenabreakout.com/Creator Hub, and earn some real cash as well as some in-game loot through this Golden Lions Legion. Go sign up today if you want to join us in making content on this game. I will be at the Creator Hub website immediately after the cast myself. I'm excited about the Golden Lions Legion, the opportunity that Arena Breakout and More Fun Games is giving content creators, and how excited they are to engage with content creators. Also coming up, we have our next 5 redemption keys. Get your games out, log in, and get ready to enter these 5 redemption keys. There's 5 available. You gotta be quick, and these are the bundles that are gonna give you that loot to maybe have a chance at that RV strat that we saw from Ace Lawrence in the game today.
Yep, it's easy value for those of you who got quick fingers, and we've got more to be given away throughout, so make sure you guys don't miss out. But once again, the big opportunity for any content creator that wants to join the Golden Lions Legion. But we are going to head on over to a quick break before we head into the final map. Lots of tension building here as we've got 2 pretty definitive top teams. It's going to be Ace Lawrence squad going up against DabPlays and Armory to see who can get the fastest time and take home that first place prize. You guys aren't going to want to miss it. We'll be back in a few.
Don't waste your breath. Shit.
The bastards came, guns blazing. And they expect us to bow down? This? What you're fighting for? Here's my answer. A bullet! I fight you tooth and nail! Are we gonna let them leave fully loaded? No! Let them come if they dare! And pay with their lives! Let them see our anger! Feel our pride! Show them who Kimona really belongs to! I will fight for her until the end.
Break. Bulldog 7, Route 1, troops in contact.
Welcome to the Arena Breakout Triathlon event, where creators will be pitted against one another to see who will become the Arena Breakout Ironman. Players will engage in intense shootouts and looting with high stakes and high rewards. Survival is key, as escaping the combat area alive is the only path to victory. It's a game where shooting, looting, and strategic decision making are crucial for success. Get ready to break out! We've assembled top FPS pros and creators from across the globe to compete in 3 different challenges. Each challenge will take place on a different map, and the goal will be to get it, obtain the required amount of loot, and extract. Challengers will have unlimited attempts within a 30-minute time limit. Failure on any maps gets marked as the full 30 minutes. The lowest combined time across all challenges wins. Challenges will feature creators as participants, and they can choose to compete individually, bring along friends for assistance, or form teams with anyone. There are no restrictions on loadout value, but anything they bring will not count towards the map goal. The first challenge takes place on the farm. Creators must navigate through the heavily patrolled fields and gather 100k coin worth of loot before extracting. The next challenge is in the valley blockade, where they choose to break into the villas to find large amounts of loot and enemies, or stay on the outskirts and play it safe. Either way, challengers must nab 200k coin before breaking out. The final challenge will be held in the armory. Challengers must be sure to do their reconnaissance here in order to remain efficient and find the exit to this potential death trap. This time, 300k coin is needed before your final evac. Heads up, any form of cheating is strictly prohibited. Keep your eyes on the battlefield to make sure you don't miss a minute of the action. Arena Breakout will be available on iOS and Android, so pre-register now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Arena Breakout Triathlon. We are in week 5 of the action, and some of our top Battle Royale players are going at it. They have gone through 2 maps already and are getting ready to head into arguably the toughest one, Armory, the final task as they look to solidify their places. I'm joined by Mod6 to break down the action, and Mod6, heading into this final map, having seen what we've seen, who are you looking at? Who has impressed you most, and who do you feel like has that opportunity to take home first place?
Now, I might surprise you with this one, but I'm still on DabPlays. I think we have, I think he's shown himself to be calm under pressure, able to execute at the end of that Valley round, and he has a real opportunity here to use his experience in the game to facilitate a quick extract. Now, we're going to see probably some pretty consistent strategies from these teams going into bunker, but what I'm interested to see is I think the opportunity to really get the fastest extraction time here is to figure out a strategy that does not require them to go deep into bunker to be effective, right? The fastest times we've seen on this map did not involve spending 4 minutes in bunker. So I'm interested to see if we see some diversions from that strategy. I think our top 2 teams are really brainstorming ideas on how they can shave a minute or 2 off of their potential extraction time here. And then we may see some wild upsets. This is a map that is extremely competitive. The guards don't miss, and there's no delay on when they shoot. And all of the other teams on this map, you can expect them to be in level 5, level 6 gear, maxed out ammo levels, and it is going to get a lot more competitive, a lot more risky to make those fast moves across the map. So as much as it looks like Ace Lawrence and DabPlays have this lockdown and a battle between the 2 of them, if we see really highly competitive gunfights, we may see some of these teams struggle. And this is the map where these teams are most likely to post that 30-minute extraction time due to the competition. So it's all up in the air, but I think consistency is going to win the day on this map. And we are going to be jumping right into Armory with these teams. They're going to be in the line of fire, and they have to figure out how to get off this map with at least 300,000 coin.
All right, we'll see what they can do. Like you said, definitely the best chance that your opponents are going to post a 30-minute time. So much more competition, especially the loot that is to be found. But it's all about speed. And interestingly enough, coming into today, the record speed for this map was not the slowest one. It was actually Valley that had the slowest record time prior to what we saw out of Ace Lawrence's squad. You can see early engagements here for DabPlays. And right now, they're pretty quickly making their way across the map. No real competition for them, but obviously eyes on the high ground, as you don't want to be taking any risks, especially not only to get a slow time, but to get taken down. Having a full reset on your loot is not something that you want. And right now, just trying to make his way up this hill to give himself a better angle to watch that outer area.
Yeah, this is going to be an environment of pretty constant gunfights, but we see DabPlays able to knock out at least one TAC Ops player early, and depending on that gear, we saw some level 4 stuff, but we may see some high value come to these players from gunfights, and if they're able to avoid having to check all of those locked rooms in bunker, that could facilitate a quick extract. Wynnsanity dealing with some threats on his movement here. Looks like he is headed towards bunker generally, but stopping through some of these areas to see some loot opportunity. Little bit separated from his team, and with all of the threats on this map, that is not something you want to make a habit of. So we see him looking to rejoin his team there, watching out for some of that fall damage, more things that could potentially cause him to have to stop, heal, and waste more time. So we see Wynnsanity avoiding that fall damage, hitting the energy drink, and continuing his movement across this map. We've seen these teams continue to flow across this map with some speed like we've seen in previous iterations, but lots of traffic here. Wynnsanity dealing with these guards, and you see they do not miss, ladies and gentlemen. Wynnsanity doesn't either, though, as he's able to execute with some headshots and keep himself out of trouble here with really close gunfights as he deals with 5 guards all at once. Whole body red, blacked out arm. And Wynnsanity, this is where that mobile gaming experience comes in to play, because we see him transfer his aim and hit headshots to be able to stay alive in that moment.
Yeah, that was crucial, but once again, puts him in a rough spot, and you're going to have to spend more than likely some more time healing if he's going to be able to stay alive and get off the map. Obviously, questions around how much loot he's been able to pick up as well. We do take a look at 8-scope right here. Needs to make up a lot of ground, and you can see some sweaty jiggle peeking out of him. Not going to have an angle onto whoever he's looking for right there, but able to disengage, and more than likely teammates looking to do the same. Only about 2.5 minutes into this map, so not necessarily that you need to start booking it as much as you can, but a lot of shots through onto Dab right here, trying to get out of this spot. One leg blacked out already, and a lot of shots going through. It looks like teammates going to have his cover, but he has been able to get a pretty good amount of loot right here, and if he can stay alive, this could be all that he needs to extract.
Yeah, DabPlays very close to that loot threshold, but dealing with a lot of trouble in the gunfight here. And something interesting that we saw from 8-scope, we'll talk about that in a minute, with his weapon and ammo choice. That is absolutely a factor. Ace Lawrence on the extraction point, looking at getting a potential 5.5 minute extraction time here. We're going to see if he has the loot value to get it to, oh wow, faster than I expected. 4 minutes and 19 seconds.
Would that be a record?
Competitive with the record here. He could potentially set a record on 2 of these maps in one event. If that's the case, he just put himself in a position.
Yeah, we did it.
You said back-to-back records.
Over 300,000 in his first. Look at the smile on his face. I would be grinning ear to ear. He may have just buried the competition with that extract. DabPlays gonna have to put up an absolute miracle. Ace Lawrence, you could hear he was nervous at the start, but he fell back on those teammates and that experience, and that clearly came into play here with a crazy level of success early in this armory round. Bobby, 2 records, 2 maps in a row?
2 maps in a row, and you know who the previous armory record holder was? his teammate Shifan, who is likely the one that told them to pull the RV strat as well, playing a big role. And coming into it, Ace Lauren said that he didn't really feel all that confident about their chances. So the fact that they come in and not only are competing, but set back-to-back map records after Little B Squad sets back-to-back map records last week, just absolutely ridiculous numbers for them. And once again, puts the rest of the competition in such a difficult squad. Number one, Wynnsanity and 8scope are out of the competition, at least for first place completely. There's no way that either of them can catch up. You can see Dab slowly making his way toward the extraction point, but that blacked out leg making him move very, very slowly. And he's going to actually pop some painkillers right here, as it seems like maybe they have an idea that they don't have enough loot or not going to be able to extract in time.
Yeah, and you know, this goes back to week 2, and I interviewed Shifan before the game, and I asked him about, you know, what does he think is going to be his big strength? What does he think he's bringing to the table from PUBG Mobile, high-level PUBG Mobile competition? And he said, do not sleep on PUBG Mobile competitors in this game. They're excited about it. And the dedication they put into that level of high competition is clearly on display today, with Shifan coming to the table with the winning strats, and really his record as a teammate in this event is better possibly than any other player right now, really contributing to the winning strat there and offering his team leader an opportunity to post some wild extraction times. 8scope, we see him consistently getting slowed down and dealing with these long distance engagements. I have no doubt about his proficiency with that sniper rifle, but potentially not the best approach to being able to get through these engagements with as much speed as possible as his team continues to move across the map away from that threat. He's kind of holding that rear guard as his team fans out and moves towards some of these loot areas. But again, the standard set so high at this point. DabPlays with the only chance to compete here. This round is not going to do it for him, though he may post a time and really lock himself in to second place here with this this first game on Armory. But he's going to have to pull off an absolute miracle record-setting run to be competitive on this map.
And now he's got 2 arms blacked out as well. So just trying to get everything he can just to stay alive in this one. Chucks the nade in there to try to clear out this entry point. You can hear there's still footsteps. And he may not even be able to jump up without an energy drink right there. So just trying to get out of the map at this point, see if they can get a full reset. Looks like still some more loot to be gained. Now, once again, Exo, I mean, at some point it's like, well, you can take the sniper from the man, but you can't take the sniping out of what he wants to do. And with what it looks like is likely going to be the result, seems like 8scope just having a little bit of fun right here, trying to hit some snipes, trying to make some highlight plays, and keep the people entertained in this competition. Not going to be able to spot anybody out, but you know, at the end of the day, you got to have some fun while you're competing as well.
Yeah, if anybody can give us a sniper highlight clip, it is 8scope. And DabPlays going down in his Armory run. He had multiple blacked out limbs, and one of the dangers of deciding not to do the surgery, there's the gunfight there as you see him taking shots, blacked out groin, blacked out arms, and the struggle there. And the danger of just hitting the painkillers and not actually doing the surgery and healing is if you take more shots in that limb, you are much more likely to die very, very quickly. Wynnsanity with a 9-minute and 3-second extraction time. He is fighting for a chance for third place here and able to put a time on the board. If 8scope unable to extract, he's got an opportunity.
It's not going to qualify. He was 284.
Oh, it's so close. To be 16,000 away with a decent time has got to be frustrating. But still 20 minutes left in this round and an opportunity for Wynnsanity to try and repeat that result and claw his way up the standings after an unfortunate Valley result. 8scope continuing to move across the map. Bold in the open, looking for those sniper opportunities. I'd like to see a 360 snipe from him in this game. That would be a first in Arena Breakout. I don't know if that's going to be very feasible, though, because to pull something off like that with the risk you have to take would be absolutely wild. But able to get some loot in, clearly dropped a team here on this spot with some decent value. Probably not going to be enough for that 300K. Ace Lawrence looking at some long distance threat with his teammate moving in front of him, able to stay secure and safe, keep terrain in between him and those possible threats, and move towards the loot here as he goes right across the middle of the map on Armory. Really intelligent use of the terrain here, not stopping to address every single threat, and continuing to flow across the map towards the loot. That's absolutely the move here if he's going to be able to I don't know, continue to build on this lead.
Yeah, I mean, it's just about setting more records at this point. I don't think they're realistically competing with anybody else unless we see a DabPlays run similar to what we saw out of Ace Lawrence's squad, where you get, 2 minutes and 15 seconds or whatever it was. Maybe something could be possible, but it seems like a pipe dream at this point. You could definitely see the frustration on Wynnssanity's faces. Obviously, not only they post that 30-minute time on map number 1, but then to follow it up, you have what looked like was going to be a solid run, and then to be 16,000 short. Just a couple of those calculations did not go their way, and puts them in a rough spot once again. So that now they have that much more pressure just to even be able to climb the leaderboards at this point. It seems like there might be an opportunity for them to pass up 8 Scope in the standings, but right now it is really just between Ace Lawrence and DabPlays, with the last 2 godlike runs for this Ace Lawrence squad definitely cementing themselves easily in the first place spot.
Yeah, it's clear his teammate Shifan came into this triathlon series with something to prove based on that first interview that we had. And he, ladies and gentlemen, has nothing left to prove about his proficiency strategically in this game. Really, we haven't had too many conversations about the tactics and their ability to deal with the individual gunfights. We've seen some struggles, we've seen some successes across the board, but for the most part, all of these teams have been pretty consistent in their successes in the gunfights. Tactics, not really a major question here, but clearly the difference in the day so far being those strategic decisions, those route planning decisions, what keys you bring into the map. And we see Ace Lawrence. I would not be surprised if we see a crazy loot value from this team. They have to know how far ahead they are and how hard it will be for any of the other teams to catch up at this point. And so they may just be going to pad the stats and show off. They've definitely earned that opportunity here so far, as we see them pretty carefully deal with these threats. Guard footsteps all over the place on the screen here with Ace Lawrence, and not wanting to take any chances clearly, but they move through bunker, dealing with these threats, and at this point, they got to be having an awesome time. You see the smile on his face. I think we have a full-on arena breakout convert with Ace Lawrence and team members at this point with the success that they're having today, Bobby.
Yeah, and you love to see, even when it seems like basically a blowout win, teams still taking this very seriously and trying to approach these runs the best that they possibly can. And who knows, maybe we'll get a money record, or rather a Cohen record, for how much they take away from this map, as well as they are just seeing what they can make out with at this point. But yeah, no question, the pressure on for DabPlays and his squad, and they're pretty early in on this run. Obviously took a little bit longer to get back into the action with him getting taken down, but seems like he's going to be able to hop down. That's not great on the legs, though. A little bit of fall damage right here. We do see the extraction for 8 Scope, but at the time of what looks like it's going to be about 15 minutes, not really going to be a time that any of the rest of the squads are going to have to worry about.
Yeah, an interesting tactic we see here from DabPlays is he and his team cleared the area in front of bunker from the high ground, which gives him a quick opportunity here to make his run towards bunker a lot faster, but he's dealing with a gas grenade. If he sits gas grenade too long, he does not have a gas mask on. That's going to cause him some struggle. So DabPlays definitely dealing with damage as he moves across Armory. We see 8 Scope here, 40 seconds away from his extraction. Not a particularly quick game, with about a 15-minute game here from him, but getting a score on the board will be absolutely crucial if he has the loot value to lock in his potential third place finish here. You see the team, this is one of the safer extraction points with only one route in, and they have 3 guns on the door with their team leader A-Scope. But Wynnsanity in a gunfight here, both arms blacked out, dealing with these guards, nearly dead, 1 HP in a dream. Wynnsanity as he gets down there with a shot in the back, and he gets taken out. The frustration on his face as he takes the headset off and takes a walk. Wynnsanity, these players, like you mentioned earlier, Bobby, they are taking this seriously and really competing to get the best result. And you see some of that frustration that we expected from Armory. A-Scope not able to hit the minimum loot value either. That's our second team that is able to get a difficult extraction here on Armory, but with a heartbreaking result being so close to that 300K mark. Ace Lawrence just having a good time, filling up his inventory in his account at this point, well into the lead. And I feel like they've decided to relax a little bit here. You know, you see the time when that timer's up. This is not a super fast run for them, but this is a high loot run for these guys. So taking an opportunity to demonstrate some excellence in bunker, and DabPlays looking to thread this needle in a gunfight. Grenades in here. I tell you, Bobby, grenades in this game are so scary when they're coming in. They will make you absolutely panic.
You can see he's dealing with every angle possible. Right now, it's just a completely different story for Ace Lawrence than for all the rest of these teams. You can see the frustration at so many different points across all of the maps for the rest of the squad, and some porcelain right there. Might be able to find some value off of it. Probably not enough to hit that 300K mark, but a solid start for sure. But yeah, the frustration for Wynnsanity, you can see it just taking off the headset and walking away, because with their desperate need for a god tier run, that death just continues to pile on for things going wrong for them, and they're now in a spot where they've got to set records potentially just to move into third place, let alone to be in contention, which is just not feasible, which, to be fair, is not necessarily their fault. It's Ace Lawrence's fault, because they have continually put up these ridiculous runs.
Yeah, I think Wynnsanity gets the award for the most relatable experience in this game, in this event at this point. I can't tell you how many times I've had just a tragic death in the middle of a game where I was really pushing to get something done and had to take a walk to cool off. This game will absolutely get your nerves up with all of the threats and all of the heartache of losing a full backpack full of high loot value items. And we definitely saw that from Wynnsanity. Definitely the most relatable thing I've seen in the competition today. Bobby, I don't know. I can't relate to a 2.5-minute extraction, but I can relate to that frustration.
I didn't even know it was physically possible. I learn new things every day, but man, I mean, that was... sometimes everything goes your way. Sometimes everything goes your way 2 maps in a row, and you set multiple map records. So that's the case for Ace Lawrence. They're just getting some extra extractions in for fun. Like you said, getting the inventory value up a little bit more to set themselves up for some later runs whenever you don't get those successful 2-minute runs. Oh no! Ooh, and Dab.
Yeah, that's oh no, just absolute frustration. That is the second time we've seen the unfortunate outcome when you just take a step off of that extraction point at the wrong time. Ace Lawrence, the biggest smiles we've seen all day long. Clearly, the team communication is on point and they're having a good time. And yeah, that consistency, that team dynamic really coming into play for these guys today. But man, I mean, the chat right now, the viewers are getting all of the warnings about what can possibly come your way and prevent a successful extraction here, with 2 teams now falling into the trap of just stepping off that extraction point at the wrong time, missing an extraction. And if you miss that extraction on Armory, you see what DabPlays did. He just laid on his own grenade, because there really isn't a second extraction opportunity once you miss that first one on this map.
Which is the same as the OF grenades, the off grenades.
And obviously, you don't typically, with the pace of this game, think about it coming down to split-second decisions, but ultimately, that's what it was, because Dab, obviously, he hops off, tries to keep himself alive, doesn't think about the fact that that's going to set him up to have to kill himself anyway, so even if that first nade had taken him out, it's the same result either way, and once again, it's not always about split-second decisions, but they definitely do come at certain points, and that one comes back to bite him for sure. It looks like 8scope trying to load in to one final game, see if they can post a solid time. But once again, realistically, it is only DabPlays that has a chance of maybe competing with Ace Lawrence, but given the fact that they're going to need basically a sub 2-minute time to make that happen, let alone make it happen on Armory, it's once again going to need a miracle.
Yeah, and interesting insight there. We got a snapshot of Ace Lawrence's team and the overall team loadout. One of the things I noticed, he has one teammate with thermal goggles on. I believe that is the only player in the competition today that chose to put on that 600K pair of thermal goggles, and that may be giving his team a significant advantage in their ability to identify where other teams are on the map, identify where some of these absolute dead shot guards are here on the map. And interesting choice, a lot of risk there with a 600K item on your loadout, but bringing in those thermal goggles on one teammate may be a significant factor in their ability to achieve success in some of these gunfights here. And 8scope, as you see the team moving in, slowly but surely bounding past each other, clearly they're worried about dealing with an opposing team on this point of interest, as we see the grenades go out right in the direction of those footsteps. And that's one of those tactics you see players use all the time to get information, because those grenades cause people to panic. It's almost impossible to have the nerve to know you're safe, see a grenade come in your direction, and not run. And so those grenade tosses from long distance, giving these players information, able to identify the location through the sound and visual indicators of where these opposing teams might be, and give themselves an opportunity in the gunfight. As we see him get into the safe here, teammates checking him, letting him know what's in the safe, giving him an opportunity to loot that up, and unfortunate value from that safe, as they'll have to go to a couple more spots to start to come close to that minimum loot value. But yeah, these guys dealing with all of the traffic here on this map, all of the accuracy of other teams and the guards, and we've seen some real ups and downs here on Armory. And yeah, Ace Lawrence just living in luxury right now with the times his team's able to put up, and the rest of these teams desperately trying to make it to their extraction point successfully and finding all the struggles on the way, for sure.
I am curious if we maybe get one more look at Wynnsanity squad to see if they can post a solid time and make a regain after what's absolutely been a frustrating day for them. Obviously, kind of the peak of the frustration being the fact that they post that 30-minute run. But the last thing you want to do is post back-to-back 30-minute runs and then have that hour-plus time on your final scoreboard. That's the last thing that those guys want. So Ace Lawrence, his squad, already back into the action. They're just farming cone at this point, and they're seeing how many maps they can make it out of. I believe this being their third run. Nade's going out left and right. DabPlays and his squad doing their best to put a challenge up to Ace Lawrence. But once again, you're already 2 minutes in, and that is 2 minutes too many if you want to be able to challenge the time of that Ace Lawrence squad. So they're just doing their best to cement a second place spot. And realistically, they've probably got to make sure they can actually extract in order to do it. There's a definite chance right here that 8scope finds second place if Dab doesn't find a successful extraction here, and the same for Wynnsanity.
Yeah, and Dab, you know, in the gunfight pretty consistently here, dealing with other teams, dealing with guards, and like you said, already at that 2.5 minute mark, he's really got to push. But frankly, Dab needs to be concerned about a successful extraction, even more so than he needs to be concerned about, you know, 30 seconds here and 30 seconds there, because a 30-minute time may pull him all the way out of second place. And there's no guarantee that he's going to be able to get on and off of this bunker location in the next 5 minutes and 20 seconds. So DabPlays really under the gun here, trying to finally lock in and guarantee his second place spot, and taking the entire 30-minute time period here to be able to get a chance at a successful extraction. We see 8scope near a successful extraction point, potentially being able to extract. Don't know if he's got the loot value, but that gold ring at 15,000 adding at least a little bit to the total. All of the footsteps in his vicinity. You can see these guys nervous about those threats and clearly affecting their ability to move really quickly across this map. That really just goes to show you how impressive the Ace Lawrence extraction is when we see these other teams with some of the best players at this game in the world on their team and running into some struggles. You know, like the way this game goes is in a 30-minute time period like this, the thing that wins the day is calm under pressure, team communication, but more than anything, consistency in the runs you get. We saw Sade in the chat earlier saying, hey, RNG is lucky or unlucky. It's not skill or no skill. And he's exactly right. It's the consistency in the runs in that 30-minute time period that you do with your team that allow you to kind of factor out some of that RNG. If you're able to get 5-6 minute extractions like we saw Ace Lawrence do on farm, one of those is going to turn out with the right RNG, the right loot opportunity, and it's really that consistency that gives them an opportunity to kind of factor out the loot RNG, and we've definitely seen that from Ace Lawrence, and a little less so from some of these other teams today, as they struggle in some gunfights, they struggle to hit their loot values, but yeah, consistency is winning the day, and DabPlays moving through bunker here, finding some good loot, hitting all of these safes, may give himself an opportunity. He's got a golden cheetah, he's got a satellite disc, and he's got more safes to loot. So he is stacking it up right now, likely very close to that minimum loot value of 300,000, and he is in position to be able to extract very soon. Ace Lawrence looking at his third successful armory extraction with time left on the clock. He's putting on a clinic, Bobby.
Wait, 436, was that faster than the first one? I can't even remember, but that's...
This is crazy.
It's faster than Shifan's record coming into this. So I think had he not broken the record the first time around, he would have had the record the second time anyway, and does it with 430,000. And like you said, like, there's a lot of competitive games out there that have an RNG factor. It's about setting yourself up for success. Like, there's competitive battle royales. You can't control where the zone goes at the end of the game, but you have to put yourself in the best position to win, knowing the way that the game works. And that's 100% what Ace Lawrence's squad did. And so you can't always control everything, but competitive arena breakout, especially in this format, is about controlling the factors that you can control and setting yourself up for success as much as possible. And ultimately, you can tell it's not a fluke that Ace Lawrence's squad comes out in first place in this one. They've been putting up ridiculous numbers over and over again, even in runs where there's zero pressure on them.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this kind of goes back. I'm gonna quote Dr. Disrespect and say I played some real sports growing up, right? And there's like all of those factors apply here, and the biggest one is you got to be good enough to beat the refs. You hear that in any competition of any kind, and the way you're good enough to beat those factors that you can't control is consistency. We've definitely seen that from these guys today with Ace Lawrence, and we see 8scope taking his opportunity for those long range engagements. That's what he wants here in the last minute of this window, and it looks like we have a clear winner here, and really we saw a lot of consistency from all the teams. Not a huge gap in the time on farm, but like we said, as we progress through these games, all of those little mistakes really start to magnify as we get onto more competitive maps with much more difficult obstacles for these teams and many, many more threats. we saw the pace start to slow down. We saw the consistency start to break up. And that's what gave Ace Lawrence the opportunity to really distinguish himself and his team's experience. Ace Lawrence, his teammates, these guys, this group are starting to make a name for themselves and their ability to really get results in this game when the pressure's on in competition. And some wild results today, record-setting days. It seems like we set a new record in this game every week that this competition happens. And so really exciting stuff from the Arena Breakout Triathlon Series, keeping people on the edge of their seats the entire time. As our countdown timer hits 0, we'll be taking a look at our final results here in just a moment.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question who the winner is going to be, and to be able to do it coming into this competition, and maybe we put a little too much stock in the interview and Ace Lawrence's attitude going into it, but we really didn't think they were going to be a serious competitor. Like, well, we got one God squad, we got one squad with a lot of team chemistry. Surely they're going to be our top 2, and realistically, nobody in the rest of the competition came remotely close. It seemed like Shifan has been the X factor in a lot of these top teams, and he helps elevate Ace Lawrence and the rest of the squad to be able to take home the win here on day 5.
Yeah, the word that comes to mind, Bobby, is undeniable. That's what Ace Lawrence brought to the table today. He has some undeniable teammates. They worked the strategy, and their ability to stay consistent and be successful in their gunfights, in their route planning, that carried the day, and they were able to get it done with all those loot values and set some records in the process. Now, we're going to get a chance to talk to Ace Lawrence about his team's success, and we're also going to get a chance to talk to all of our team captains again. And I'm interested to see what the feedback looks like, what the experience was like, and talk to some of these teams about some of the frustrations they ran into in some of those gunfights, some of those times where, just stepped off of the extraction point, unfortunately. And we saw some frustrations, but we saw some really, really great results from some of these teams and their ability to execute and get it done. A really exciting series for Arena Breakout and the Triathlon Series so far, for sure.
Yeah, it's been a blast to cast multiple different formats as well and kind of see the different strategies that we see these teams take in, whether it's speed running the map, whether it's getting as much loot as possible. There's definitely a lot of different formats that can potentially work well for Arena Breakout, and cool to see just the ridiculousness of some of the runs that we've seen overall today. But definitely big congrats to Ace Lawrence's his squad. I'm curious to see what the final results are, because I don't know that Dab or Win had a successful extraction on map 3 either. So we could potentially see 8scope moving into second place there.
Yeah, absolutely. The results are definitely not in yet. We have a pretty clear idea of who our first place winner is, but second, third, and fourth are completely up in the air right now. And and I want to talk a little bit about what the potential is for esports and competition in this game. But first, let's hit it one more time. We want anyone who is looking at creating content in this game, excited about Arena Breakout, to check out the Golden Lions Legion. This is an official creator program with built-in incentives for creators of literally any size. Content creators in these mobile games, you see people like Bobby, he's a superstar. He's got nearly 1 million subscribers on YouTube. But the fact of the matter is those big YouTubers like our fancy host here today are not the only people with an opportunity to really progress their ability to make content, engage with a game, and have the support from game developers. The Golden Lions Legion is where you do that in this game. Head over to arenabreakout.com/creator hub to check that out. I know I will be after the stream. But yeah, exciting stuff. And the potential for esports in this game is pretty wild, because this is just one format, right? This is a specific format that requires you to kind of showcase your skills on multiple maps, deal with multiple dynamics. But we have custom rooms coming, Bobby. we have the opportunity to put all of these teams in the same lobby, put a loot requirement on them, and make them deal with gunfights with other world-class players. I cannot wait to see where the competition in this game progresses. And frankly, it's also really exciting at the level that they engage small content creators as well. I joke about big content creators being a small one myself, but it's a lot of fun to see people from all over the mobile gaming content community come and embrace this game and the style of events that are happening. And you see people from 500 YouTube subscribers up to 1 million plus that are engaged in this. And the variety is awesome. The dynamic in the community is great so far. So it's really exciting. And the next step for that's that Golden Lions Legion.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what the competition's going to look like whenever it does come to those custom lobbies, because that's ultimately where the top players are really going to shine, especially given the fact that it's fun to watch people run around, loot as much as they possibly can, but it's really going to get ridiculously sweaty when you have those top teams going up against each other. And that's really it for any top-level esport. It's the best of the best up against the best of the best, and you do see a lot of that RNG taken out of the equation to where it's all about strategy, it's all about your tactics and your gun skill. And I'm excited to see what those tournaments are going to look like, but it's definitely been a blast casting the Arena Breakout Triathlon. I don't know if we have our official results in quite yet, but once again, we know exactly who first place is going to be. It is going to be that Ace Lawrence squad, and there they are. Wow. 30-minute. Wait. Oh, that's right. 8scope didn't get enough on his run either. So it's 30 minutes for every team except for Ace Lawrence, who goes 4 minutes and 19 seconds and posted an additional 4 minutes and 38 seconds. If that's not an argument for their level of dominance and the fact that it was not a pure RNG run, that was calculated dominance out of the Ace Lawrence squad.
Yeah, absolutely. You can make all the claims all day that they got lucky on Valley. They knew the strat, that's great, but they didn't get to control the fact that the extraction point was ideal, the Golden Lion was there, but you cannot make that argument about this performance on Armory, the only team with a successful extraction. And add to that, they got 2 sub 5-minute extractions. We see Wynnsanity here in the gunfight. A lot of these teams throughout this portion on Armory dealt with gunfights, and Wynnsanity just demonstrating those mobile shooter mechanics, just aim transfer, headshots left and right. But at the end of the day, we see Ace Lawrence with that crazy fast extraction, the big smiles and reaction and celebration from those guys on the team for the rest of that time period on Armory, and plenty of frustrations for these teams as they extracted without that minimum loot value. Armory and Bunker here, this is where the exciting gunfights are, and everyone absolutely trying to race to get there, but hitting all of the traffic and difficulty in the gunfight on the way.
Yeah, definitely a painful end to that one. I think both for Dab Squad and for Win Squad, looking at how dominant they were on map number 1, like you could see they had the strats, that you could see they were able to deal with the necessary gunfights and get out, but just a couple crucial mistakes, and that was the case in some of the later maps for both teams. The crucial mistake being Dab hopping off the extraction point, having to nade himself to get back into the action, and then for Win, just not quite enough mental math to be able to count down how much you got in your inventory. So only 284, just not quite enough. But man, oh man, what a performance out of that Ace Lawrence squad.
Yeah, and we see the final results here. Ace Lawrence, the obvious winner by a margin of nearly 30 minutes over our second place DabPlays. And what we see here is a continuation, same results as after that Valley round, as we see our second, third, and fourth place teams having 30-minute extraction times on Armory. So Ace Lawrence, a runaway victory here, and real consistency, and excited to talk to these guys after the end of this, hear some about this experience, and hear from Ace Lawrence what that strategy was going in and how they were able to execute on that strategy consistently and successfully. Your final results here a runaway win for Ace Lawrence and some really exciting action and exciting games with blistering fast extraction times.
And not only the fact that he had the fastest extraction time, like we saw people like last week, Little B, crazy fast extraction times, didn't have a ton of loot because realistically, he didn't need it. But the fact that they absolutely blew the competition out of the water and did it with the most money in their inventory as well is just absolutely crazy. And I believe broke Little B's team's record time of 14:32 last week. They go 14:19. And there's just not a whole lot more you can say about how well this squad performed.
Yeah, we're going to get into an interview with these guys and have an opportunity to talk to them now. And I've got some questions. I can't wait to see what the reaction is here.
Yeah, we're going to hop into an interview with our winner. It's Ace Lawrence right here. Sir, you said coming into this interview that you did not feel confident in how your team was going to perform. Was that was that just modesty, or did your teammates just blow you away, or what was it?
All I can say, I mean, when I said I said I'm nervous because I only put like maybe 10 hours in the game, and I'm still learning. I'm still kind of slow. And here's the main message. Okay, it feels like I feel like I didn't participate at all. I feel like my teammates participated this event for me. I did nothing. They just said, "Hey, follow us, Ace. Follow us. Oh, you hide here, you stay here. Don't do anything. Don't do anything." They made me stay quiet. And then we got lucky. I mean, it was stressful at the start because my audio didn't work. The stream, no audio at all. I cannot hear my teammates. I cannot hear the game. I even had to restart my laptop here. I had to end my stream. I was so tilted. But then second game, Shifan started screaming, "Ace, come here!" And then we found this lion. And then the extract point is right next to it. So we got lucky 2 minutes. Third match, we got lucky too because of my teammates. I did nothing. I was just moving forward, following my teammates. That's it. Again, they participated this event for me, and I was just behind them. I did nothing. It's them. They should be the winner.
I love to hear the humility and the credit to the teammates there, because we talk about this all the time where this is a team game, right? Playing these games solo is so difficult. But I mean, we saw from you guys crazy consistency on Armory. So what was the plan on Armory? What was the strategy? Because you got multiple sub 5 minute extractions there. How did you guys pull that off?
The first one was I think we had multiple strats depending on our on where we spawn, and we respawn next to the gas. I think it's gas station. So the plan was to go there and then check the safe, and then we found a full team there. So we went there. They killed them. I was just hiding. They killed the squad, and they told me to like drop everything that I have and then pick their armor, vest, whatever. And then I also dropped my backpack so we can extract to the emergency whatever extraction point thing. And then that's it. 4 minutes. We did it 2 times too, and we even did one normal run. We it's like 7 minutes run. We won and we killed everybody. We did 3 runs and we won all those 3 runs. Again, it's my teammates.
Yeah,
not
you guys.
not me.
You guys were absolutely phenomenal. Not only did you have the fastest time, but you also finished with the highest loot value as well. So it was just ridiculous dominance. And like you said, both of those runs, not only were they sub 5 minutes, both of those would have been record-breaking runs from the fastest time prior to today as well. So you guys were just breaking records left and right, broke Little B's team's record for the fastest overall time from last week by 13 seconds. So it was it was very, very impressive. Any shout outs you want to give besides your teammates coming away from that win?
Yeah, first of all, I want to give shout outs to my teammates because I have to, because they did pretty much everything. And then second, I want to thank Arena Breakout for letting me into this event, and also to our content creators that are participating in this match. Thank you so much for your time here, and thanks for being a good sport. It was fun. I think I'm gonna play this game more often once I go back to Canada, because I'm in the Philippines right now. My ping is like 300 when I played. That's why I couldn't do anything. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. Hopefully in the future we get into another event by Arena Breakout. Yep.
All right. Well,
that's awesome. We're gonna get a
it.
chance to talk to everybody here in just a second. Like Bobby was saying, we really appreciate you talking us through the strat, explaining how much of this is a team dynamic, and congratulations on the win today. An excellent performance.
Also, can I have a quick message?
Let's
Do you
hear
have
it.
time?
Sure.
So if we broke the record today, if you're gonna mention this record in the future, don't say Ace Lawrence. Say Ace Lawrence's team, because I did nothing as my team. I'm just saying. Okay.
Team Ace Lawrence breaking all
There we go.
records.
There we go. That's the team,
All right.
not me, not just me.
And we have Wynnsanity
we appreciate-
here. It looks like we had a chance there.
We will
we're
have
gonna get a chance here to
Wynnsanity.
talk to all of our team, all of our team leaders here in a second. Interested to hear how they dealt with some of that frustration and very, very relatable experiences. Ace Lawrence could not be more humble in victory, and clearly explaining how much the team dynamic led the way today. Bobby, what do you think about that result and his reaction?
I mean, that would have been my reaction too. And I was even like trash talking a little bit in my own chat because he popped in. I was like, you didn't win that event last week. Shifan won the event, didn't he? Because you can tell, and he's the X factor in all of this. So it definitely seems like, obviously it's a team play, but for them to be able to do that with their main player on 300 ping, once again, just makes it that much more impressive. So not surprised by anything that he said right there, but you got to give credit to everybody on the squad. It's just not the rest of the players. He did his job as well. So you got to give credit where credit is due.
Yep, definitely. And we do have 5 more redemption keys coming up here before we end today. So if you have not been able to redeem one of those keys, you got to be quick. They're on the screen now. Go into the code redemption section on your Arena Breakout game and get a chance to pick up some of that higher tier armor, helmets, weapons, and ammo from these bundles. And yeah, we're going to get a chance here in just a minute to talk to all of these team leaders together, get their impressions from the overall competition, and see what they think about performance today, how they dealt with some of those frustrating moments, and what some of those strategies were. I'm interested to see everyone's reaction to that insane 2.5 minute extraction time from Ace Lawrence on Valley, the absolute record for any extraction time we've seen so far. Yeah, really exciting stuff today for sure.
Yep. Well, hopefully you guys had the opportunity to snag those redemption code or the CD keys and get some additional loot in there. So we'll be getting our players in here for an interview. If I had to guess, I think to a certain extent, the guys that were tilted earlier are probably going to be able to look back and laugh about what happened, because at the end of the day, it was a cool event just to participate in. And also, I don't think Wynn had super high expectation, and maybe a little bit more tilting overall in the grand scheme of things for Dab, as he did have those hours put in. But at the end of the day, there's always things out of your control in some of these runs. And really, he was one hop off of the extraction point away from not only being second place, but being pretty close to first as well. So curious to hear what these guys have to say. But I think it's going to be good vibes across the board.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those things where it's also beneficial for everyone to see that, these guys really have worked out their strat. They've got some great players on their team, but the fact of the matter is you can run into all sorts of different areas of frustration or difficulty on these maps. And I think that's going to be helpful for a lot of people like myself, who maybe run into those challenges a little more often than the guys we saw here today. So yeah, these games they can get spicy, and you never know when you're going to round that corner and run face first right into a entire enemy team. But now we have the opportunity to hop in with all of our team captains. So we're going to jump in to this group interview here and see what the impressions are from the outcome.
All right, hop in on over, I believe, right now. Do we have our players here?
Yes.
Check.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Hello.
Well, congrats to you guys on your performances. I think we'll hop in with Mr. Wynnsanity first. You guys had a very solid map 1. Then we didn't really get to see a ton of map 2 for you guys. So I'm curious from you guys' perspective. Obviously, you did post that 30-minute time. Was there one specific point that you felt like maybe cost you the map, or a couple different things that went wrong?
Definitely. Yeah. So like you guys mentioned, farm was good. I think we had one of the best times on farm, and then we go into valley and things really fell apart. So we weren't having a great run, and we tried to quickly extract and just reset because, you know, we're going against the clock. I think you guys caught it on the show. We were at the helicopter pad. I'm on the edge. I like turned and just a pixel of me left the point. So I kind of reset the clock, and from there it was all downhill. Then we were like, oh, we got to go to a different extraction. Then we all died. And then I'm seeing Ace Lawrence putting a 2-minute gold lion in the chat. I'm like, we're not going to beat this, man. Yeah, it was all downhill from there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think we saw you at one point take the headphones off, stand up, and walk away. And I highlighted that as probably the most relatable experience in this game. Yeah, that's definitely the case for me sometimes. But Dab, we saw you really pull in that extraction late on Valley, keeping it together, barely getting it in, keeping yourself in contention. How did Armory go? We saw you in gunfight after gunfight on the map. How did it go for the team?
There's an issue when I'm just playing on my own where the bots just have it out for me, and I was just getting dropped by bots the whole time, it felt like. So. And then my teammates, they did an amazing job at following like our strategy, but it just seemed like I was always on my own for like 10 seconds, and that's when the bots would catch me. So yeah, Armory was a bit rough right there. At that first extraction, I was going back down to grab my bag, and then I was gonna head to the extraction right there, and then I just got dropped by a player that was just waiting in the bush for us the whole time.
Obviously, you guys, you had one more unfortunate incident on Armory where, what was it, a teammate nade that got thrown on the extraction point, or what happened there?
No, the second that I picked up my backpack in the hallway and started walking towards the extraction, I heard a door open up above, one of the main doors into the Armory, and I said, oh, a team's gonna push us. So we're sitting there on the extract, and about 20 seconds were left, and that's when you saw the nade indicator, and that was an enemy nade flying at me. So I jumped out of the extract to hopefully not die, but it was within the last few seconds that you need to be in the extract to be able to leave, because you have to be there for 10 seconds to leave. So it was just unfortunate timing. And then I just naded myself so I could get back into the next one quickly.
Understandable.
Yeah. And 8-Scope, we saw you with the sniper rifle out throughout the matches. What's your impression of sniping, and did you get some good opportunities with the sniper rifle today? The long-range engagements, I knew you were looking for them for sure.
Yeah, definitely looking for it, but didn't get the opportunity to get any. But I want to say, though, Valley is cursed, because I thought I was the only one that didn't make it through Valley well, because I had like the loot, I had just enough. I had like 215k, and as soon as I was supposed to get on the helicopter, it was like 1 second late.
That happened to me too.
Like, right? I was like, damn. And then my teammates are insane. I don't know. At one point I thought they were like not legit, because as soon as they saw somebody, they was like, see somebody dead. I'm like, what? I see somebody, I'm dead. So I'm like, the teammates were very good, but I don't know, RNG, all I can say.
Yeah, that's always a factor. And with all of us here, Ace Lawrence with the 2.5-minute extraction on Valley, maybe the most beautiful lineup of RNG and strat we saw today. Everybody got a chance to see the best possible outcome of the RV strat on Valley. So some pretty crazy extraction times.
Didn't he have like exactly 100,000 for that farm extract?
Yes.
Man,
Was that intentional?
You gotta go get a lottery ticket, dude. Your luck today is like unreal.
Wait, let me find that screenshot. It's 100,000.
He had it by 882 coins.
What? Did somebody have a calculator out?
Yeah. He had less than 1,000 coin to spare, and I'm
You
like,
were one
unless he
pocket watch
counted-
away from not winning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and look at his smile right now. Look at his smile. He's got nothing but grins for you as a response.
I wasn't sure if we made it.
Wait, so
even,
was that intentional, or did you guys just get lucky?
I think we just got lucky. I was thinking, oh, we didn't make it to 100K, and then when I went back to the result, I was like, this, please make it to 100K, and then I checked. I was like,
wow.
You know that meme?
I may have given you guys too much credit because I assumed somebody was sitting there like with a calculator and you were like calling out all the values and somebody was like typing it in for the exact calculation. But it's sometimes better to be lucky than good.
If we didn't make this,
I had a theory that you had a calculator watch on the whole time and you were doing the math as you went.
You would have gotten.
Yeah, make it by the razor's edge on that one. And put
yeah,
he would have. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would have.
Wow.
Literally lost by a pocket watch, bro. Oh no! I'll never live that down.
I hope you guys caught that.
All right, well, awesome, guys.
When Shifa
Thanks.
started screaming. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, she found the guy with the strat clearly, and awesome performance today, guys. Really, really exciting the entire time. We love to see everybody come together for an event like this and really put on a show and try and min max at every opportunity in the game. And saw some awesome gameplay, some awesome gunfights. So thanks again for joining us and putting on a show for everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks. It was great.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I think that just about wraps things up as we have our final interview with our casters, everything else. Once again, make sure you guys are not missing out on the Golden Lions Legion, your opportunity to get involved with Arena Breakout as a content creator, whether it's making videos, whether it's live streaming. There's opportunities regardless of how many followers, subscribers, whatever it is you have. Make sure you check it out at arenabreakout.com/creator-hub. If you want to get involved, especially if you're enjoying the game as much as every single one of those guys were for the entirety of the last 3 hours, it's definitely something you guys don't want to miss out on.
Yeah, absolutely, and super exciting to see the storylines with a win by pocket watch margin in that one with that 100,882 coin extraction. So running the razor's edge, but giving everybody a lot of things to be excited about in the matchups today. And yeah, so absolutely thanks to Arena Breakout. Always a pleasure to have the mobile caster supreme Bobby Plays on the cast with us today, and a lot of fun and a lot of exciting action from all of our players, all of our teams. And I think we all have some names in this Arena Breakout competition space that we're going to be keeping an eye on for the future. Absolutely.
Yep, no question about it. Ace Lawrence, Team Ace Lawrence, we can't get it twisted anymore. It's not just him, but the entirety of the squad putting on an absolute show. And big thank you to Wynnsanity, to DabPlays, and to 8scope for really showing out in the competition today as well. That's going to wrap things up for day 5 of the Arena Breakout Triathlon. Thank you to each and every one of you guys that watched. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the Arena Breakout channel so you don't miss out on any more competitions like this. I'm sure there will be plenty more in the future. Thank you to Mod6 for casting with me and being our Arena Breakout caster extraordinaire. That's going to wrap things up here. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you next time on the battlefield.